A dark, bruised sky hangs heavy over a land scarred by conflict, revealing a desolate battlefield below, strewn with countless fallen warriors. Amidst the silence, a lone crow descends, landing softly on the blood-soaked earth. It approaches a fallen figure, beginning to peck at the lifeless form. A sickening tear of flesh draws a fresh splatter of crimson onto the grim tableau. With its meal secured, the crow takes flight, a dark silhouette against the desolate landscape. It finds a perch on a discarded spear, observing the silent field below. The battlefield remains a testament to the brutal conflict, a sea of bodies stretching into the distance. A lone crow surveys the desolate landscape, its dark eyes reflecting the grim aftermath of a brutal conflict. The battlefield stretches endlessly beneath its gaze, a silent testament to the lives lost. Perched atop a broken spear, the bird observes a figure lying motionless amidst the wreckage. Suddenly, a ragged cough echoes across the silence, as Gula stirs, blood staining her lips. She struggles to rise, her gaze falling upon the fallen forms around her, including the unconscious Jehusiel. Her eyes narrow with fury, a single thought burning through her mind. Those bastards. As she pushes herself to a sitting position, Gula surveys the vast destruction, wondering how long she could have been out. Meanwhile, a heavy boot steps through the blood-soaked earth, its owner moving with deliberate pace. A cloaked figure emerges from the haze of the battlefield, a silent observer walking among the fallen. A lone, hooded figure stands amidst the desolate, war-torn landscape, their forms silhouetted against the muted light. Surveying the wreckage, their gaze falls upon a fallen warrior in golden armor, a silent thought echoing through the devastation. Amazing. I'm not the only one who survived the bloody battle. Nearby, Gula sits among the debris, her pink hair a stark contrast to the grim surroundings, as she recognizes the armored figure. Arthur, huh? The injured warrior, Arthur, struggles to speak, urging Jehusiel to hold on, before acknowledging Gula's presence. Right, they said you're still alive, too. His golden armor is visibly damaged, bearing the scars of the brutal conflict. The hooded figure approaches, extending a hand towards Arthur, a silent gesture hanging in the air. A faint, ethereal glow emanates from the hooded figure as they stand over the now kneeling Arthur, reminding him of a promise kept, and then asking, "What do you want?" Arthur's eyes widen in terror, a guttural sound escaping him, as the hooded figure's question hangs heavy. "You want to be revived?" The hooded figure presses on, their voice calm yet insistent. "No? Then, what do you want?" Arthur struggles to speak, his voice barely a whisper. As the mysterious hooded figure looms over him, their eyes glowing with an ethereal light. The figure's cold judgment echoes across the desolate battlefield, suggesting that Arthur's current plight is a consequence of his own weakness. Lying amidst the carnage, Arthur's mind races, recalling every detail of the events that led him here, even as his consciousness struggles to remain clear. His body is a testament to the brutal struggle, wounds marring his face and armor. A hand extends towards him, and the figure's voice reminds him of a forgotten vow, the very purpose that brought him to this cursed place. The hooded figure stands tall, their cloak shimmering with cosmic dust, delivering a chilling philosophy that emotions are merely shackles for the weak, making true freedom an elusive dream. Arthur's eyes widen in sheer terror, the weight of the figure's words and his own memories crushing him. He can only stare up, trapped in a nightmare of his own making. In a desolate, rain-swept landscape, Gula kneels amidst the ruins, her expression heavy with sorrow. A dark, hooded figure approaches, their voice echoing with a chilling question. "Why did you abandon your body in the first place? You should have just let yourself be returned." Reaching out a hand, Gula responds with a quiet understanding. "I can understand him. Stop." The hooded figure stands over her, their words revealing a deeper truth. "You are the descendant of the royal family." A pained expression crosses Gula's face as the figure confirms. "That is correct, O venerable Gula." The skeletal hand of the hooded figure reaches towards her, their voice filled with disdain. "The kingdom that has fallen. The world that has decayed. He is nothing more than a tool with all that. He wouldn't even be able to save himself. What could cause him to lose his mind?" Continuing their harsh assessment. "This child is too great to return. He said he would make a place to live even if he returned." Gula, looking defeated, challenges the figure. "Then why didn't you just grant his wish? You seem to be regretting it quite a bit." The hooded figure offers a final, cryptic response. "How could I help? This child was originally meant to become the Lord's overlord." As the hooded figure continues to speak of Arthur's destiny, Gula listens intently, hearing how he is meant to lead overlords, a star shining brighter than any other, a light never meant to be shown amongst humans. The figure's voice carries a note of weary resignation, lamenting how humans only learn to regret after everything is already over. Gula's expression shifts from concern to a quiet shock, her gaze meeting the hooded figure's unwavering stare. Her hands come together, fingers intertwining, a gesture of deep contemplation or perhaps burgeoning despair. Suddenly, glowing golden chains materialize around her wrists, binding them together with a soft, metallic groan. As the chains settle, a vibrant pink gem, pulsating with inner light, appears embedded within the golden links on her wrist. The gem then shifts, transforming into a necklace, hanging around her neck as she recognizes its familiar form. Kneeling before the hooded figure, Gula hears a solemn declaration. The promise made to her has not been forgotten, and her own wish can now be granted. Her golden eyes begin to glow with an intense light, as she looks up and asks what the figure can truly do for her. The hooded figure's voice echoes, declaring that the world has already ended, leaving nothing left to desire, yet acknowledging that the overlords had maintained their honor, and the gods had kept their promise, rewarding him. Only the gods, the figure continues, are permitted to judge and punish, and even then, his existence was merely a fleeting dream, leaving everything to their divine will. Gula's eyes widen, a single word escaping her lips in disbelief. What? A soft, almost imperceptible sound of acknowledgement escapes her, her expression shifting from shock to a deeper contemplation. Suddenly, the hooded figure's form expands, a massive, ethereal pair of wings unfurling behind them as the ground around them cracks and glows with immense power, their voice resonating with an undeniable command. Come closer, my child. A hand, glowing with soft blue energy, extends towards Gula, beckoning her forward. As if pulled by an unseen force, Gula begins to float, her body enveloped in a swirling blue aura, her golden eyes now glowing with an intense, inner light. Her pink hair flows upward, caught in the magical currents, as the blue energy continues to surge around her. Her face, illuminated by the golden glow of her eyes, shows a mixture of awe and fierce determination, fully embracing the power that now courses through her. Enveloped in the surging blue energy, Gula finds herself in an ethereal, star-dusted void, her gaze fixed upon a glowing, masculine figure floating before her. A distinct, intricate marking on his chest pulses with the same vibrant blue light, illuminating the space around him. Meanwhile, the hooded figure's voice echoes, a promise hanging in the air. I cannot wait to meet the two of you again. A flash of brilliant light accompanies their words, as they declare their anticipation. Suddenly, the vision shifts to a desolate, dark landscape, where a single, powerful pillar of light pierces the sky, reaching towards an unseen zenith. From the heart of this light, a large, multifaceted crystal begins to form, glowing with an intense inner radiance. Its intricate structure catches the light, shimmering with potent magic. Then, with a sudden burst, the crystal shatters into a shower of sparkling purple energy, dispersing into the darkness. As the purple fades, it leaves behind a gentle descent of glowing green particles, drifting softly into the void. The roulette wheel spins, a blur of red and black, its motion a hypnotic dance of chance. Around the table, a crowd of gamblers watches intently, but his focus is absolute, his gaze locked onto the game. With a decisive gesture, he places his chips, unwavering. Soon, a formidable stack of winnings piles before him, a testament to his sharp instincts and undeniable luck. This intense moment gives way to a new beginning, as the title, The Return of the Explorer, appears. A harsh expletive echoes through the air, followed by a heavy thud, as two men stand in a dimly lit alley, one offering a light to the other. Jehu Seol, his gaze fixed on the ground, tries to explain his predicament, insisting he has every intention of repaying his debt. The man in glasses cuts him off, his voice firm, demanding immediate payment, while Jehu Seol pleads for just a little more time. With a final warning that time is running out, the man in glasses tells him to find a solution, as Jehu Seol turns and walks away, defeated. Watching him go, the man in glasses wonders aloud what could have happened to someone who once held such promise. His associate shrugs, admitting he doesn't know, only that Jehu Seol suddenly started acting strangely, talking nonsense about things he couldn't see or hear, before a sudden realization hits him. Jehu Seol, now alone, leans over a trash can, a soft thud accompanying his action. His eyes burning with a desperate red glow, Jehu Seol questions if this is truly enough. He clings to a fragile hope, convinced that just one more good run, one more chance, will secure his victory. His face, now streaked with dirt and weariness, reveals a profound, unspoken need. The bustling city streets transition to the quiet facade of a cafe. Inside, a young man in a cafe uniform clutches his head, visibly distressed. He sits slumped at the counter, lost in his own thoughts. A phone slides across the counter towards him, as a voice politely requests his number. An apologetic expression crosses the face of the female cafe worker as she delivers the news. The young man lets out a long, defeated sigh. Yu Xianhua meticulously evaluates an item, her thoughts focused on its worth, noting a point for its figure and another for its visual appeal. Holding up a piece of clothing, she adds another point for its design. Suddenly, her composure breaks as she admonishes others, declaring that their actions are unacceptable. A locker door slams shut with a sharp, metallic sound. And Xianhua turns, beginning a greeting, her voice starting to form the word welcome. But her expression shifts to one of shock and distress as she finishes the word, the full welcome, now tinged with an unspoken weight. Meanwhile, Jehu Seol strides into the cafe, his presence calm amidst the subtle tension. Approaching the counter, he places a simple order, requesting a single Americano. After receiving his drink, he settles into a seat, the cafe's atmosphere now holding a quiet, unresolved weight around him. Still reeling from the recent news, Yu Xianhua mutters to herself, reminding herself of the cafe's pay-in-advance policy. As Jehu Seol settles into a seat, she collects herself, declaring that she will personally handle his coffee order. The rhythmic whir of the grinder fills the air as fresh beans are prepared. With practiced precision, the grounds are tamped down, ready for brewing. Then, the rich, dark liquid begins to drip, filling the cup with aromatic coffee. Finally, the finished drink is presented, a simple, "Here's your coffee," accompanying the gesture. Jehu Seol looks up, a hint of concern on his face, as he receives the cup from her. He then asks for the receipt, prompting a surprised receipt from Yu Xianhua, who looks at him with wide eyes. Suddenly, Jehu Seol points into his cup, his expression shifting to alarm, exclaiming that there's a sub in his coffee. Still reeling from the previous encounter, Yu Xianhua clutches the coffee cup, her mind racing as she mutters, "No way. There's no way I'm imagining this, sir." Meanwhile, Jehu Seol's frustration boils over, his voice sharp as he challenges her. "Are you trying to tell me that I'm a liar?" Her eyes widen in disbelief. Yu Xianhua can only stammer, "That's..." before a gentle tap on her shoulder breaks her trance, revealing Jehu Seol standing calmly beside her. The two now seated at a small table in the cafe. As Yu Xianhua, now behind the counter, asks him, "What are you doing?" He holds out his hand, a playful glint in his eyes, proposing, asking for emotional damage compensation. Her expression shifts from confusion to utter shock as she exclaims, "What?" He clarifies his situation, stating that he has a bit of a problem and was quite shocked to find a sub in his coffee. Yu Xianhua apologizes for frightening him, but admits she doesn't understand what he means by sub. Jehu Seol, however, cuts her off, demanding to know how she plans to make up for it. Her eyes widen, a wave of distress washing over her face. Still reeling, she can only manage a bewildered gasp. Now seated across from her, Jehu Seol reminds her of a past favor, mentioning she sent him money when he was studying abroad. He then asks if that's all she remembers, reiterating that he sent her money while abroad. A phone screen displays a prompt asking for a transfer, accompanied by a mischievous chuckle. A distinct clang sound emanates from his pocket, which now visibly bulges. He stares intently at his phone, a soft gulp escaping him as he processes the information. The screen displays a staggering 2 million won, and he questions aloud, 2 million won? Is this all? Yu Xianhua, her expression unreadable, insists she has nothing more to say, but he cuts her off, a sharp, "Hey," demanding her attention. Her eyes widen slightly in surprise, caught off guard by his sudden intensity. He leans in, his voice laced with accusation, asking if she's making fun of him, to which she can only respond with a bewildered, "What?" His gaze drops, a flicker of deep frustration crossing his features as he laments, "I was sucking it up, but now you're treating me like a hobo?" Her shock deepens, her mouth slightly agape as she takes in his words. He continues, his voice heavy with a mix of resentment and desperation. "Do you like this life? When you were studying abroad, I sent you money out of my own pocket. Just a bit. You just changed me some." With a decisive motion, he lifts his shirt, revealing his bare midsection, a silent, desperate plea. As Jehu Seol pulls up his shirt, revealing his midsection, a voice filled with disbelief questions what has happened to him. His eyes wide with a mixture of pain and desperation, he can only utter a bewildered, drawn-out question. Yu Xianhua, her eyes welling with tears, accuses him of being the one person he had trusted above all others. His expression hardening with resentment, Jehu declares that she was responsible for everything, a memory flashing of her at a computer, the money he sent her never bringing her happiness. A warm, golden light envelopes a past moment, showing the two of them sitting close, smiling, in a time when their connection seemed untroubled. His gaze falling, heavy with sorrow, he wonders how she can now look at him with such disdain, after all they shared. His jaw clenches, a raw question escaping his lips, as his anger begins to boil over. With a guttural cry, his eyes blazing crimson, Jehu screams his desperate plea, if only he doesn't lose her. Once, he was just a boy, walking away from a life where he felt utterly ordinary, believing he had no special abilities at all. Now, his eyes glow with an inner light as he focuses, wondering, if I focus my attention on my eyes. Around him, the world shifts, and organisms and objects alike are suddenly lit up with vibrant green lights, a strange, ethereal glow emanating from everything. He continues his journey, the bus carrying him forward, and he observes a pride of resting lion-like creatures, noting that nothing happened if he was directly involved with the green lights. But then, a massive paw steps onto a rock with a heavy thud, and he realizes something different. A majestic lion stands tall on a rocky outcrop, its presence commanding. And Jehu Seol's eyes glow intensely as he concludes, if I was involved with things without the lights, the color is, his perception of the world is changing. He had always been different, even as a child, though he hadn't understood it then. Back then, more often than not, something unfortunate would inevitably occur. In other words, there was always less than a 50% chance that things would go his way. To truly put this strange phenomenon to the test, he decided to visit a casino. A nervous gulp escaped him, the weight of his gamble pressing down. Yet, for the first year of this experiment, it seemed the goddess of fortune was firmly on his side. The ball spun, clicking into place, consistently landing on his chosen numbers. A streak of improbable luck. Jehu Seol, as a young boy, would often feel an inexplicable surge of excitement, a sense of wonder at the world around him. Years later, that feeling manifested in a different way, as he recalled a time he started with a mere 100,000 won at a casino, only to turn it into 5 million won in just 2 days, blinded by the sheer influx of money. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and he found himself with an endless supply of money, his luck seemingly boundless. But this extraordinary fortune came at a cost, as the constant exertion began to wear him down, leaving him perpetually exhausted and withdrawn. As he used his ability more and more frequently, he started to suffer from debilitating migraines and persistent insomnia. The vibrant green light that once appeared so readily in his vision became fainter and fainter, a mere whisper of its former brilliance. It now took several minutes of intense concentration just for the faint glow to show itself. Then one day, after a period of serious illness, he lay in bed, utterly defeated. His luck had run out, and the game was truly over. However, his face contorted in agony, hands pulling at his cheeks, as he realized he had already become an addict. A woman, her long dark hair obscuring her face, turned away from him, her departure signifying the loss of everything he had. The city lights blurred into the vast expanse of the night. As he sat alone by the water, gazing at the distant moon, he tilted his head back, gulping down the contents of a green bottle, before slumping onto a flight of stairs, disheveled and defeated. His eyes, however, burned with a desperate resolve, a silent declaration that he could not continue living like this, that he needed the green light back, though the question of how remained unanswered. With a sharp thud, his hand slammed down, a forceful testament to his renewed determination. Lying in bed, a deep sense of uncertainty washes over him, a quiet admission that he has no idea how to proceed. Later, sprawled across cold stone steps under the moonlight, he lies motionless, seemingly lost to the world. Then, a sudden, dull impact, a faint glow begins to emanate from his head. Another soft thud follows, the light around him intensifying slightly. From the darkness, a luminous, crystalline object materializes, pulsating with an ethereal blue light. The light from the crystal seems to draw towards him, his unconscious form bathed in its soft glow. With a sharp, resonant shing, a brilliant beam of energy pierces directly into his forehead. A series of heavy, rhythmic thumps echoes in the darkness, as if something profound is shifting within him. Suddenly, a chaotic vision erupts, a brutal battlefield filled with clashing figures and more pounding impacts, hinting at the power now stirring within. Still immersed in the vision, he kneels amidst a swirling, ethereal light, the rhythmic thumping of his heart echoing through the surreal landscape. A towering, indistinct figure looms over him, its form radiating an intense, otherworldly glow as the thumping intensifies. His face, illuminated by the blinding light, contorts in a mixture of awe and terror, his eyes wide and unblinking. The vision shifts, revealing a chaotic tableau of multiple figures locked in a desperate struggle, their forms glowing with raw power, a primal desire for something echoing in his mind. Suddenly, the vision shatters, and his eyes snap open with a sharp, painful jolt, the thumping now a frantic drumbeat in his ears. He finds himself slumped on a cold stone staircase, gasping for air, his body trembling from the abrupt return to reality. Sweat beads on his forehead, his breath coming in ragged, desperate huffs as he tries to process the overwhelming experience. A searing pain erupts behind his eyes, forcing him to clutch his head, the insistent thumping threatening to split his skull. His gaze is wild, bloodshot, and filled with a profound disorientation, as the chilling question forms in his mind. What kind of sick dream was that? Waking from the terrifying vision, Jehu-seol sits hunched, a cigarette clutched between his lips as he lights it, tears streaming down his face. He remembers having an ability, but something feels terribly wrong. A long, slow exhale of smoke escapes him, his mind reeling from the lingering pain and confusion. A searing ache blossoms in his chest, a question burning in his thoughts. Why is his heart in such pain? Sitting amidst the debris, he glares at nothing in particular, a furious accusation forming on his lips, demanding to know what some unseen bastard had done to him. The agony intensifies, forcing him to hunch over, clutching his head as if to contain the torment. Suddenly, he springs to his feet, a new resolve hardening his expression as he stares down at his own hand. His voice is low and urgent, demanding that whatever was taken be returned, insisting he must reclaim his ability at the very least. Frantically, he tears at his jacket, his eyes wide with dawning horror as he searches for any sign of his power. His jacket rips open, revealing nothing, and his eyes glow with a fierce, red light as the devastating realization hits him. He doesn't have it. A chilling memory flashes, Jehu-seol collapsing as a dark figure stands over him, his desperate plea echoing, "I don't want to die." Waking with a jolt, Jehu-seol's mind races, wondering if someone had done something to him while he was unconscious. His eyes darting around, he immediately thinks of the CCTV footage, convinced it must have captured whatever happened. He begins to walk, scanning the deserted street under the dim glow of a single street lamp. The silence of the night pressing in around him. Frustration mounts as he clutches his head, realizing the futility of his search, wondering how he could possibly find anything in this state. A deep worry settles over his features, his mind consumed by the unknown. Overwhelmed by his fragmented memories and the terrifying uncertainty, Seol screams in anguish. His body hunched over as he stares into the dark, murky water below a stone staircase. With a heavy heart, he begins his descent, each step echoing with a soft splash. As his foot meets the cold water, a desperate thought crosses his mind. He'll just die. The water rises around his legs, and he whispers apologies to Manhwa, lamenting that he's ended up like this. Submerged to his chest, he offers a final, sorrowful apology to his mom and dad. His head dips further, a gulp escaping him, when suddenly, a faint green light emerges from the depths below. The mysterious glow intensifies, spreading through the dark water with a soft, sweeping motion. Seol's eyes snap open in shock as the vibrant green light now emanates directly from his own body, illuminating the dark water around him. He stares, tears welling in his eyes, a silent question hanging in the murky depths. A strange, rising sound echoes, followed by a vibrant splash of emerald energy. Submerged in the dark water, a brilliant green light now radiates from his very core, illuminating the depths around him. The mysterious glow spreads rapidly across the water's surface, rippling outwards, and then ascends, bathing the towering city buildings in an ethereal, verdant hue. Standing on the riverbank, Seol gazes at the transformed cityscape, a single thought forming in his mind. It's back. His eyes widen in disbelief, a new question escaping his lips. How come? With a desperate grip on the cold metal railing, he pulls himself from the water, dripping and bewildered. Emerging from the water, Seol shivers, the cold seeping into his bones. Meanwhile, a man in glasses observes him, stating his intention to give commands. He continues, questioning his trust in the young man, who reacts with a startled gasp as if sensing the scrutiny. Seol looks down at his hands, a flicker of recognition in his eyes, as if confirming a hidden power. The man in glasses, Gwak Dong-hoon, muses about hunting them down, but admits today is different. He then formally introduces himself as team leader Gwak Dong-hoon, presenting a business card. Seol's foot finally lands firmly on the ground, the sound echoing in the quiet. He accepts the card from Gwak Dong-hoon, their fingers brushing briefly. Reading the details, Seol's gaze falls upon a specific phrase, muttering heat shield to himself. The words meat shield echo in Seol's mind, his eyes widening in a mixture of surprise and recognition. As he processes the implications, Gwak Dong-hoon leans in, a knowing smile playing on his lips, suggesting they gamble since they've already met. With a subtle gesture, Gwak Dong-hoon adjusts the cuff of his sleeve, his movements precise and deliberate. Then, with a flourish, he opens a briefcase, revealing stacks of cash neatly arranged within. His gaze unwavering, Gwak Dong-hoon repeats his question, inviting Seol to take the risk. Seol's eyes drift from the money to the man before him, a silent assessment passing between them. The briefcase remains open, its contents a stark temptation in the quiet air. Turning his head slightly, Seol's expression becomes thoughtful, weighing the unexpected proposition. Gwak Dong-hoon's voice cuts through his thoughts, reminding him that he's got nothing to lose, and that he already knows the score, while Seol internally questions if this is truly a gamble or something more. Gwak Dong-hoon continues his proposition, dismissing Seol's concerns as irrelevant to the perfect opportunity at hand, emphasizing that he's not asking for belief, but for a gamble. Seol questions the sudden shift, but Gwak Dong-hoon reiterates his earlier promise of an offer he cannot refuse. His thoughts race, wondering about the team leader's true motives for involving him in such a high-stakes game. Realizing the core issue isn't the why, but something deeper. He delves further into his own mind, sensing a more critical underlying factor. Meanwhile, Gwak Dong-hoon watches him, a subtle smile playing on his lips. The term meat shield echoes in Seol's mind, a painful reminder of his past. His expression hardens, a vision of a desolate, monster-filled landscape flashing before his eyes as he firmly rejects the proposition. Unfazed, Gwak Dong-hoon presses on, suggesting he could simply take the money and live a life of luxury, free from the burden of being a meat shield. The team leader then quietly considers the young man's resolve, a pen held thoughtfully in his hand. She apologizes, noting that her initial attempt wasn't enough to sway him. And turning to leave, she offers a polite farewell, wishing him luck despite his refusal. Her footsteps echo away, the distance between them growing, until a sudden call makes her pause, a questioning sound escaping her lips. With a finger pressed to her lips, she turns back, inviting him to speak. As she begins to walk away once more, Seol's voice rings out, declaring his acceptance of the contract. She stops, looking back with a surprised expression. A powerful, crimson aura flares around him, his gaze fixed upwards, as he begins to speak. Seol lunges forward, his spear a blur as he closes the distance to the colossal monster. Having claimed another victory, he stands triumphant over the defeated creature, a testament to his relentless power. With a powerful, precise thrust, he drives his glowing spear deep into the monster's massive hand. A blinding flash erupts from the point of impact, signaling the devastating force of his attack. The spear continues its trajectory, piercing cleanly through the monster's head as blood erupts. Covered in grime and sweat, Jehu Seol's face is grim, yet etched with unwavering determination. He stands victorious once more, his glowing spear still impaled in the fallen behemoth, a silent testament to his might. His sharp, resolute eyes reflect the brutal aftermath of the fight, already looking towards the next challenge. In a recurring dream, he found himself perpetually locked in combat, always fighting against the monstrous horde, struggling desperately until the very end, a fight that always concluded with his demise. In those final, fleeting moments, he would always make a desperate plea to a mysterious, cloaked figure, begging for a chance to start anew. If only he had possessed the necessary ability back then, he mused, as a single tear escaped his closed eye, reflecting the faint glow of a mystical crystal. However, the dream always concluded with his first encounter with that enigmatic deity, a memory that seemed to resonate with a woman in glasses, her expression thoughtful as she looked down. She pondered the implications of the second coming of gluttony, considering it an invitation, another chance, a new reality. Her voice sharp through the phone, the woman with glasses reminds him of his past, stating he is already from it. Jehu Seol retorts, asserting his current strength and dismissing her claim as untrue. She challenges his claim, questioning the true origin of his power and recalling the mysterious crystal that appeared before him. Her tone turns demanding, pressing him for his next move. He dismisses her concerns, but she immediately echoes his words, her disbelief palpable. She probes further, highlighting the crucial distinction between a contract and an invitation. Jehu Seol counters, suggesting the obvious superiority of an invitation. He warns her of the difficulties she would face otherwise. The woman with glasses proposes a trade, asking him to relinquish a portion of his precious ability, implying it's a fair exchange. He stares at the woman, a single word escaping his lips in disbelief. The woman before him is Shinyoung Seo, her name now revealed. As the name registers, he repeats it, a question lingering in his tone. He points a finger, his voice rising in frustration, demanding to know if his contract was truly his own doing. Shinyoung Seo calmly responds, suggesting they are simply one of them. His expression shifts to shock, as he recalls her earlier, more aggressive words. She turns away, then back to him, clarifying that she wasn't lying. He simply didn't receive a provision for invitations. With a sigh, Shinyoung Seo begins to walk away, her hand casually dropping to her side. She glances at her phone, leaving him to ponder her words. Her gaze sharpens, reflecting the weight of the information she's about to impart. A weathered statue stands sentinel nearby, a silent warning to keep secrets safe, lest one regret their disclosure. Shinyoung Seo turns her attention to the imposing figure, explaining that Jehu is the only one who didn't receive a provision for invitations, unless he's considered a slave. As she speaks, Jehu recalls the glowing yellow orb in his hand, a tangible sign of the ability he's always possessed. His frustration boils over, demanding to know if this convoluted situation isn't related to his unique circumstances. Shinyoung Seo clarifies that his case is a talent, not a form of servitude, admitting she's only spent a few years on that side and has never heard of such a thing. As she begins to walk away, she adds that there's a condition to her continued assistance, prompting Jehu to urge her to reveal it. Pointing a finger at him, she lays out her first demand. He must promise never to speak of this world to anyone. With a determined expression, he nods, acknowledging her words, as Shinyoung explains that she understands his situation, but her knowledge of such unique cases is limited. She clarifies that she can't simply offer him a special invitation, but she can provide him with a chance. A special invitation? He repeats, a hint of surprise in his voice. Shinyoung then lays out her condition. He must promise to keep the existence of this other world a secret, never revealing it to anyone. He considers her words, then firmly states that he accepts her terms. Shinyoung's expression softens slightly, a small smile playing on her lips as she acknowledges his agreement. He reiterates his understanding, confirming that he knows what he's getting into, while Shinyoung calmly lights a cigarette, the smoke curling around her. He repeats his acceptance of her terms, and she responds with a simple, yet impactful, good. With the agreement made, he turns and begins to walk away, leaving her behind. Having just left the meeting, he reaches into his bag, his fingers brushing against something unexpectedly warm and glowing within the depths of the fabric. Pulling it out, he reveals a small, intricately designed gold stamp, pulsating with a brilliant, ethereal light. Shinyoung Seo, witnessing the sudden radiance, demands to know the nature of the mysterious artifact. Her voice sharp with urgency, she exclaims that the object is her very life. But before she can react further, the golden stamp begins to melt, dissolving into Jehu's outstretched palm with a soft, shimmering glow. A wave of shock washes over him as his entire hand erupts in a brilliant, golden light. A hand emerges from the darkness, its palm open to reveal a single, ancient-looking coin, glowing with an ethereal, pale green light. The light intensifies, casting strange shadows as the coin seems to hum with hidden power. Before the scene shifts to Jehu, who stands silently before Shinyoung, a question lingering in his gaze. Shinyoung, her expression unreadable, simply states, "It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Just take the late lunch." She gestures towards a plain brown envelope, its contents unknown, then leans forward, her voice dropping to a serious tone as she warns him. Whatever you do, don't do anything you can't take back alive. If you die on me, I'm not done yet. You still owe me to get reimbursed from you, got it? With a dismissive humph, she turns and walks away, leaving him to ponder her words. As he turns to leave, Jehu Seol pauses, remembering something, while Shin Young Seo, her expression unyielding, asks if he intends to return the item she just gave him. He holds up a small, rectangular object, its surface faintly glowing, a soft hum emanating from within. Along with the mysterious item, he also clutches a thick wad of cash, its crisp edges visible. Shin Young Seo's voice cuts through the night, a sharp reminder, telling him not to die and to keep the money, because he still owes her a significant amount for frozen yogurt. With a final, firm glance, she watches him walk away into the darkness, his figure receding down the street. Jehu Seol's hand grips both the glowing object and the stack of bills, the weight of them a tangible presence. Later, on a call, he confirms the gate opens at 9, checking his watch to see it's already 9:30. He gazes at the glowing item in his hand, now identified as a Seonghwa. Meanwhile, in a distant part of the city, two unseen figures discuss him, one asking if they should bring him onto the team, the other asserting that despite his perceived weakness, he's the only one who can keep pace with them. Shin Young Seo sat quietly, her gaze fixed downward, a potted plant resting on the counter before her. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed, causing her to snap her head up, a look of surprise crossing her features. She quickly moved to the doorway, peering out with a cautious expression. There, Jehu Seol stood, equally taken aback as he stepped into the room. Seated at a table, she voiced her discomfort, noting that it hadn't been long since their last encounter, a fact he readily conceded. Rising from her seat, Shin Young Seo pointed emphatically towards the exit, her voice sharp as she demanded he leave before her anger truly flared. But Jehu Seol moved quickly, his hand closing around her wrist as he pleaded, urging her to calm down and hear him out. She reacted instantly, twisting her arm with a forceful motion, attempting to break free from his grasp. You better be gone before I come back out, Shin Young Seo warns, her voice sharp as she walks away. He calls out, wait. But the staff-only door slams shut before he can stop her. Watching her disappear, he lowers his gaze, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. I guess it's to be expected, he murmurs, observing the stream of people leaving the building. Time passes, the clock on the wall ticking past noon. He finds himself alone in the vast, empty facility, wishing someone would tell him she was gone when she finally emerged. A memory flashes, reminding him she had mentioned the meeting was at 10:30. Later, under the cover of night, the building stands quiet and dark. Jehu Seol walks away, his footsteps echoing softly on the pavement. Still reeling from the confrontation, Shin Young Seo dismisses the lingering thoughts with a sharp, I'm sorry, but I can't. Later, she hands over a forgotten item, confirming, yeah, but he left this here, as a silent question hangs in the air. Meanwhile, under the dim glow of a street lamp, Jehu Seol stands alone, a cigarette burning slowly between his fingers. His phone screen illuminates the late hour, past 10:30, as he considers, should I send a message? Back inside, Shin Young Seo clenches her fists, a wave of frustration washing over her. Both remain lost in their own thoughts, separated by the night and their unresolved conflict. Still in the quiet alley, he glances at his phone once more, the decision weighing on him. Suddenly, ethereal blue particles begin to swirl around him, coalescing into a faint, glowing aura. He takes another drag from his cigarette, the blue energy now visibly emanating from his form, a silent testament to his hidden power. Jehu Seol is suddenly engulfed in a vibrant green light, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. The light intensifies, erupting in a blinding flash. As the energy subsides, a cigarette falls from his grasp, snapping on the cold pavement. He turns and walks away, leaving behind a small, pulsating blue orb on the ground. His footsteps echo through the quiet alley, the orb still glowing softly in the darkness. Pulling out his phone, he sends a series of hesitant messages to Shin Young Seo, first an apology for being too harsh, then a series of unanswered calls for her attention. Finally, he sends a simple, stark message, I'm sorry. With that, he disappears deeper into the shadows of the alley. The blue orb remains, a silent testament to the power he just unleashed. A soft, internal hum echoes in the quiet. Above, a single light fixture illuminates the ceiling. He stirs awake, a quiet sigh escaping him as he sits up in bed. His gaze falls upon the scattered remnants of the previous night, a discarded cigarette, butt, a bag of cat food, and the general disarray of his room. A chilling thought crosses his mind, a question whispered in disbelief. My doom? He moves to the window, his hand reaching out to the glass, and peers down into the empty alleyway below, wondering if anyone else is out there. Suddenly, a soft chime emanates from his computer, drawing his attention. His eyes widen in terror as a glowing red mark appears on his forehead, and a stark message flashes across the screen. The message from the gods has arrived. Please check the message. Jehu Seol sits on his bed, a tablet resting on his lap, a look of mild surprise on his face. His attention is drawn to a smartphone screen, displaying a stark message. I missed the message. Please read the message. Reaching out to touch it, he mutters, this isn't my phone. Despite his confusion, a finger taps the screen, initiating an unknown process. A chime rings out as the device confirms. Individual confirmed. User registration has been completed. Another tap on the screen reveals the next step. A message from a guide instructing him to arrive at the Paradise High School auditorium within a mere 45 seconds, with an option to check the location. Paradise High School, he muses, a prestigious institution exclusively for girls, a place he would never normally be allowed to set foot in. Yet, the mission demanded his presence, and the sprawling campus now lay before him. With a determined stride, he approached the school grounds. The thought lingered in his mind. A girls' school, prestigious, and utterly off-limits to him, but the urgency of his task pushed all hesitation aside. His footsteps echoed with purpose, each one bringing him closer to the unknown. Finally, the grand entrance of Paradise High School stood before him, its name emblazoned clearly above. As he walked through the gates, his rhythmic footsteps were joined by another, lighter tread beside him. He glanced up, meeting the gaze of a woman walking alongside him. Her blonde hair framed a gentle smile as she greeted him softly. As he steps inside, a blonde woman in a crisp uniform greets him, her voice carrying a hint of surprise as she questions if he is a foreigner. With a soft rustle of fabric, she extends a gloved hand towards him. He looks at her, a question in his eyes, as her hand remains outstretched, awaiting his response. Realizing her intent, he takes the item, surmising it must be his invitation. The woman explains that they need to check the contract, and he glances down at the card in his hand. She apologizes for her rudeness, while he processes the unexpected formality. The card slips from his grasp, a small, rectangular object now held firmly. The blonde woman offers a subtle, knowing smile, as the card in his hand begins to glow with a soft, pulsing light. Jihu Seol's expression remains thoughtful, still processing the implications of the glowing invitation card. Suddenly, the blonde receptionist, who had just handed him the card, performs a deep, formal bow before him. His eyes widen in surprise, a silent question hanging in the air as he observes her unexpected gesture amidst the bustling school corridor. She rises, her hand gesturing politely, and begins to explain the reason for her profound respect. Jihu Seol looks down, still processing, as she once again bows deeply, the sound of her hands meeting softly echoing in the space. The receptionist then leads him to a more private area, where they stand together, the conversation continuing. Once more, she bows with utmost deference, leaving Jihu Seol visibly taken aback by her persistent formality. The unusual display draws the attention of the surrounding students, who begin to murmur amongst themselves, their curiosity piqued by the receptionist's behavior. Two students openly question the scene, wondering aloud why she would bow so suddenly, noting that such an action is entirely out of character for her. Jihu Seol finds himself amidst a swirling crowd of unfamiliar faces, a question forming in his mind about who these people are, while a deeper, foundational truth resonates within him. He's always possessed an ability. His dream self moves with frantic energy, pushing through the indistinct figures. A sharp, painful groan escapes him as he clutches his head, the persistent thought of his inherent ability still echoing. The vision shatters into a chaotic burst of red and black energy. His eyes snap open, still wide with the lingering intensity of the dream. He slowly regains his bearings, realizing he was caught in a struggle within his dream, but now, the circumstances have shifted. In the present, Jihu Seol sits with Shin Young Seo and others around a table, a low rumble accompanying Shin Young Seo's query about everyone's presence. Elsewhere, a man in a crisp uniform sits poised at a desk, ready to extend a greeting and introduce himself. He looks up, his gaze firm and professional, declaring himself their guide. He addresses the assembled group, acknowledging their many questions and assuring them that the procedures will be followed. However, he warns them that the mere mention of the word status is enough to cause a stir, advising them to keep it to themselves. Jihu Seol, among the crowd, hears this and wonders if he's about to see a status window. Suddenly, with a soft, shimmering sound, a translucent blue window materializes before him, filled with unfamiliar text. A collective gasp ripples through the room, as others witness the phenomenon, their faces a mixture of shock and awe. Jihu wonders if everyone can see it, while Shin Young Seo, standing nearby, asks if he possesses an ability. An official-looking man in a suit explains that humans don't naturally possess abilities, nor do they typically know about them. Jihu Seol ponders this, questioning internally if it's truly normal not to have such a thing. As if in response to his unspoken thought, a second status window appears, posing a new, more perplexing question. Then why have two? The Paradise High School auditorium stands, a massive structure awaiting its next event. Within its walls, Jihu Seol feels a familiar surge of power, his hand glowing with a faint, ethereal light as he considers the implications of his unique ability. Meanwhile, in an office, team leader Guak Donghoon addresses his colleagues, explaining that there's no reason to put the Phantom Spear in anyone else's hands, and since they're starting the Paradise High School auditorium event, they'll proceed to retrieve it right away. Shin Young Seo, standing beside him, adds that they need to make sure the Phantom Spear doesn't fall into the wrong hands again, emphasizing the importance of securing it before it's too late. Later, at a reception desk, Shin Young-seo questions the blonde receptionist about the current status, asking if it has been activated. The receptionist confirms that it has indeed been activated, leaving Shin Young-seo with a look of concern. As the event activates, Gwak Dong-hoon's gaze falls upon a shimmering, ethereal orb, the phantom spear, suspended before him. He and Shin Young-seo, alongside a man in a cap, discuss the implications, confirming that the phantom spear is indeed the GWI charm. A hand reaches out, its fingers extending towards the glowing artifact. The spear pulses with an intense, radiant light, its energy flaring brightly. Gwak Dong-hoon continues his conversation with the cap-wearing man, their focus unwavering on the phantom spear. As Shin Young-seo observes, Gwak Dong-hoon remarks on the situation, anticipating the treat that awaits them. Meanwhile, a police officer reports on the presence of two individuals with silver armbands. Another officer, wearing glasses, smiles confidently, looking forward to guiding this time. Beside him, Miss Yoon Seo-rae confirms with a glowing hand, her power visibly manifesting as she affirms, yes. Jihu Seol stands before a stern-faced officer, insisting he is merely a normal adult, not an ability user, despite being brought in for questioning. The officer, eyeing a suspicious bag, simply states that a new ability user is about to be registered, his words carrying an undeniable weight of expectation. Meanwhile, in another location, a sense of relief washes over the situation as a marking grade is confirmed to have been given to Miss Yoon Seo-rae, her hooded gaze sharp and focused. Back at the registration office, Jihu Seol and another civilian sit before the officer, awaiting further instructions. The officer instructs Jihu Seol to activate his marking grade, prompting a surprised gasp from him. He clarifies the process, comparing it to opening a status window, as the concept of a marking grade is introduced. Jihu Seol's eyes widen in disbelief, uttering a bewildered question. Suddenly, a brilliant golden aura erupts around him, a complex golden symbol manifesting above his head, as he exclaims that it showed up. The officer, visibly shocked and sweating, admits he'd only ever heard of such a phenomenon, never having encountered a person with a marking grade himself. As the golden aura around him subsides, the blonde receptionist lets out a small gasp, her hand rising to her mouth in surprise. Meanwhile, team leader Gwak Dong-hoon, addressing a room full of other registrants, announces that an important individual has arrived, his words echoing with a decisive thump as he strikes the podium. Jihu, still reeling from the unexpected manifestation of his marking grade, wonders what the problem could be, while Gwak Dong-hoon's voice cuts through his thoughts, urging them all to proceed. The blonde receptionist then hands Jihu a small, yellow bag, its contents unknown. She offers him a reassuring thumbs up, a faint smile playing on her lips. Gwak Dong-hoon's voice booms across the room once more, instructing everyone to open their bonuses immediately. The bonus container, a mysterious item that appears when a clearance is granted, is now in Jihu's possession. He stares at the glowing yellow bag in his hands, perplexed by its nature and asking aloud what these boxes are. Gwak Dong-hoon, observing him, calmly explains that there should be 3 boxes inside, assuring him that opening them should be easy. A brilliant blue cube, shimmering with ethereal energy, materializes in the air, pulsing with light. As it solidifies, a system message flashes into existence, declaring that clearance has been granted, and a bonus container is now available, prompting a surprised, almost disbelieving, "What?" from an unseen individual. Simultaneously, a new grade is successfully obtained, the system confirming a B rank, and for a moment, Jihu Seol's eyes glow with an intense, vibrant green. The system then urges confirmation through a status window, a concept Jihu repeats aloud in confusion, his gaze fixed on Shin Young-seo. He watches her intently, as she too appears to be interacting with an unseen interface. Shin Young's expression shifts to one of profound surprise, as the same system messages about clearance and bonus containers appear before her. A gasp escapes Jiho, the realization dawning on him. Both Gwak Dong-hoon and Shin Young-seo are now openly viewing their individual status windows, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the holographic displays. Jiho's brow furrows in deep confusion, recalling the earlier statement that only he could see his status window, as he wonders why he can't see theirs. He stares at the ethereal blue cube, its radiant glow illuminating the words, "Clearance granted," and "Bonus container," before a B grade flashes across his vision, causing his eyes to ignite with a vibrant green light. This revelation shatters his understanding, as he grapples with the impossible truth that others, too, are experiencing this phenomenon, their eyes glowing with yellow, red, and green light, each reflecting a personal system message. A wave of confusion washes over him, a blue aura flaring around his body as he clutches his head in disbelief. Even the receptionist, her face illuminated by a similar blue cube, finds herself granted access, her eyes now glowing a soft yellow as she murmurs about the beauty of the system. Shin Young-seo kneels, offering comfort to a child whose own eyes burn with a crimson light, a silent testament to the widespread nature of this mysterious phenomenon. Gwak Dong-hoon, too, is affected, his eyes glowing green as he shields his face, questioning if everyone has opened their boxes. Later, at a counter, Jihu Seol hesitantly confirms to Yoon Seo-rae that he has indeed received a system message, his voice a quiet ah, why yes. Meanwhile, Gwak Donghoon reflects on his own choices, his expression serious, vowing to secure the best possible deal for the team, even if it meant sacrificing his own potential gains. He then explains to Joo Seol that a program appeared, revealing a status window that displays his current abilities, a system he can actively cultivate and grow. As the system's influence spreads, a voice announces, "Good, now that the gates are all opened, shall we begin?" But before the event can truly commence, a sudden, urgent cry echoes through the stadium. Wait. In a large, bustling assembly hall, a sharp voice cuts through the murmurs, demanding attention. A woman in a light blue uniform looks on, her expression etched with worry. Gwak Donghoon, also in uniform, addresses the anxious group, his stern voice questioning their delay. What is it? We're starting soon. Another woman from the assembly voices their collective concern, asking if they will receive their bags. Donghoon dismisses her question with a curt, "No, you do not. The only ones who get bags are those who are invited," prompting the woman to protest. "Weren't we also invited after careful consideration?" A condescending smirk plays on his lips as he replies, "It's simple." He then gestures towards a separate group of individuals in military attire, clarifying that these people were invited after careful consideration. He continues, reminding them that they were merely dragged into this situation by their contracts. Furthermore, he adds, they haven't even gotten their consent, unlike a certain Shin Sang-ah. A wave of distress washes over Shin Young-seo, her expression tightening. With a dismissive gesture, Gwak Donghoon assumes they have an explanation for their presence, implying their reasons are irrelevant to him. His heavy boot lands with a thud, as a voice from the group questions what he means by enough. Addressing the wider assembly, he declares that their contracts don't matter, as they are all here for the same ultimate purpose. His gaze falls upon Joo Seol, who looks on in disbelief, and Gwak Donghoon warns him that he will find out the truth far too late. A faint smirk plays on his lips, as he surveys the bewildered faces of the crowd. Meanwhile, Shin Young-seo clutches her phone, her thoughts racing. A system message flashes, announcing the commencement of the tutorial's first mission, escape the auditorium, and confirming an update to a certain student's diary. Meanwhile, Gwak Donghoon, standing at attention, offers a formal farewell, wishing everyone a joyful school year and good luck. Suddenly, a student reacts with a startled gasp to a screen, as another urgent system message appears, directing all students to the main school building with only 1 minute remaining. Joo Seol, engrossed in his phone, feels a sudden, jarring vibration, his eyes widening in surprise. Around him, other students exchange bewildered glances, questioning the abrupt turn of events. Joo Seol stands, clutching his yellow bag, his body trembling with unease as he surveys the growing panic. Amidst the confusion, Yoon Seo-rae's eye glows with an intense green light, a gasp escaping her lips as she senses the unfolding danger. Outside, the main school building itself begins to glow ominously, a massive crack tearing through its structure with a deafening crash. A phone vibrates frantically on a desk, mirroring the terror of the students below, who gaze upwards in collective horror as their world crumbles around them. He finds himself amidst a surging crowd, the air thick with the sound of a violent impact, as panic erupts around him. Students scramble, desperate to escape, as a voice shouts, "Block it!" Among the terrified faces, Yoon Seo-rae looks up, her expression etched with fear, as someone calls out to her, "Sis." She strains against a heavy metal door, the mechanism groaning under her effort, trying to force it shut. The hallway is a maelstrom of bodies, students pushing and shoving, their faces contorted in terror. A group of male students, including one in a green beanie, throw their weight against the door, struggling to hold it against an unseen force. His face contorted in a desperate yell, the student in the green beanie screams, "Block the door." Suddenly, a massive, shadowy hand erupts from the side, slamming into Joo Seol and sending him flying backward, a cry of pain escaping his lips. As he struggles to regain his footing, a stark system message flashes into existence, announcing the grim reality. Main mission, escape the auditorium. He stands before a group of bewildered students, their faces reflecting the terrifying new objective. A system window materializes before Joo Seol, displaying an entry from a diary of a certain student that details the desperate act of blocking the auditorium's only exit, inadvertently trapping everyone inside. The realization dawns on the assembled students, a collective gasp escaping them as the full implications of their actions settle in, accompanied by a low rumble that shakes the very foundations of the room. Still reeling from the shock, Gwak Donghoon, Yoon Seo-rae, and another student stare wide-eyed, one of them nervously asking if the unseen threat has finally vanished. A wave of relief washes over the group, Yoon Seo-rae letting out a soft sigh as the students confirm the monster's disappearance, a brief respite from the terror. Joo Seol, too, feels the tension drain from his body, admitting to himself how close he felt to death, just as two other students turn their attention to a white-haired peer, one of them sharply calling out to him. The white-haired student, with a casual flick of his head, turns to face them, a slight smirk playing on his lips. His expression quickly shifts to surprise, however, as he points to himself, questioning if he is the one being addressed. Before he can react further, another student grabs him by the collar, demanding an explanation, while a hand points accusingly at the floor. The auditorium stage stands empty, the Korean flag hanging solemnly in the background, and the now-blocked door a stark reminder of their predicament. The white-haired student, illuminated only by the glow of his phone, reflects on his past, acknowledging a latent ability he has always possessed. He stands against a stark wall, his posture conveying a quiet contemplation. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the silence, asking for his identity, as Gwak Donghun introduces himself as the team leader of the auditorium diary. The white-haired student, wary, questions Donghun's intentions, but the team leader assures him he knows his place and only wishes to help. Dismissing the offer with a non-committal shrug, the white-haired student turns his back and begins to walk away, leaving Donghun to ponder his response. Enraged by the student's indifference, Donghun declares his intent to act independently, his outburst prompting others to restrain him amidst the growing crowd. Unfazed by the commotion behind him, the white-haired student continues his solitary departure, finding the entire situation nothing more than a nuisance. Meanwhile, a woman in the crowd vehemently questions the wisdom of relying on such individuals, her voice rising in protest. Her anger flares as she points out the vulnerable present, emphasizing the women and children caught in their predicament. A sharp sound of disapproval escapes Jehuseol, his expression one of clear annoyance. Meanwhile, Shin Young-seo stands with Gwak Donghun and a young child, their faces etched with concern as they observe the unfolding situation. They are part of a larger group of students, all looking towards Jehuseol with a mixture of apprehension and frustration. He lets out another dismissive sound, his words cutting through the tense air. "We already have too many people to protect. What do you want from me?" Shin Young-seo's eyes narrow, her voice rising with conviction. "That's why we offered to help." Jehuseol simply scoffs at the notion, a single word escaping his lips. "Help?" He sighs dramatically, accusing her. "Why are you giving me the baggage?" Shin Young-seo recoils, taken aback by his harshness, questioning. "Baggage, huh?" His gaze hardens, delivering a final, cutting blow. "Yeah, you useless baggage. You're better off staying out of my way. So get out of my way." Shin Young-seo, undeterred, turns to the other students, her voice ringing with urgency. "Please, listen to me. We must all work together. We need to help the weak. We can't afford to be fighting amongst ourselves." Ignoring the previous pleas for unity, Jehuseol approaches a woman, stating, "Whatever. You're Lee Seola, right? Let's team up. I'll take your brother too." She questions how he intends to do that, but he simply replies, "I've had an ability." Lee Seola, clearly taken aback, demands to know, "How do you know who is or isn't my brother?" With a knowing look, he dismisses her concern, explaining that it's simple, as her brother adds, "These two were invited." Looking down at the other participants, he continues, "And you guys were dragged in by your contracts." Lee Seola glares, her anger rising, uttering a frustrated, "You." Jehuseol, however, simply smirks, turning his attention to someone else and asking, "Hey, what about you?" He then walks away, leaving Lee Seola to look down in thought. Flanked by Lee Seola's brother and another man, Jehuseol asserts his dominance. "Don't you understand? This tutorial, only with the people I chose, will you join us?" His gaze sharpens, a flicker of something profound stirring within him. Meanwhile, a woman pleads desperately, her voice laced with fear as she tries to protect those around her. Unaware of her pleas, or perhaps simply ignoring them, Jehuseol's expression remains resolute, his focus elsewhere. A soft whirring sound accompanies the sudden, intense glow in his eyes, a vibrant green light emanating from their depths. The green light washes over the assembled crowd, their forms silhouetted against the ethereal glow. A system interface appears, categorizing one as green, C, while another figure, with eyes burning orange, is labeled orange, B. The distressed woman is marked NO color, D, as Jehuseol's own eyes now pulse with a deep, ominous red, labeled red, A. A gasp escapes him, a single drop of blood tracing a path down his cheek, as the transformation intensifies. His hair and eyes now blaze crimson, a powerful red aura engulfing him, and a stark warning flashes. Recommended TO retreat immediately. A sudden, deep rumble echoes through the air, causing a ripple of confusion and alarm to spread through the assembled crowd. The ground beneath them begins to heave violently, sending people stumbling and falling as panic erupts. Amidst the chaos, Jehuseol turns to a man with a bandana and beard, his voice laced with urgency as he questions the nature of the disturbance. With a desperate cry, he urges everyone to flee. The crowd surges forward in a terrified mass, Jehuseol swept along with the panicked rush. From a slight distance, the bandana-clad man, Shin Young-seo, and Yoon Seo-rae watch the unfolding pandemonium, their expressions a mix of concern and apprehension. As the ground continues to tremble, a foot steps down firmly, pushing forward through the disarray. He stumbles, losing his footing completely, collapsing onto the wooden floor as a young woman rushes to his side. She offers a hand, her concern evident, and he accepts her help to rise. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shatters with explosive force, sending debris flying. From the newly formed chasm, dark, sinuous tendrils writhe and stretch into the air, capturing their stunned attention. Jehu stares down at the unsettling sight, questioning the nature of the bizarre emergence. Deciding against further investigation, he and Lee Seola agree to retreat from the unfolding mystery. As they turn, a menacing, crimson hook-like object emerges fully from the depths. He collapses to the ground, a pained groan escaping his lips as the black tendrils writhe around him. While the menacing crimson hook-like object fully emerges from the fractured earth. Suddenly, an unseen force slams into him, sending him recoiling violently, and he crashes hard onto the debris-strewn ground. His companion, Lee Seola, rushes forward, calling out his name in alarm, her face contorted in sheer terror at the unfolding chaos. Another powerful impact reverberates through the air, and she is violently thrown backward, her shoes flying off as she tumbles. As he struggles to rise, a grotesque, clawed hand bursts from the ground, seizing Lee Seola, prompting him to cry out her name in desperation. As the ground continued to rupture, Jehu Seol and Lee Seola desperately ran, their escape attempt observed by Guak Donghoon and Shin Young Seo, who called out that the two were nearby. But before they could get far, an unseen force dragged Lee Seola's legs down, pulling her into the newly formed chasm. Jehu Seol stumbled, falling to the ground as he watched her disappear, his desperate cry of Seola echoing in the sudden silence. A collective murmur rose from the horrified onlookers, their faces etched with shock and disbelief at the unfolding tragedy. From his prone position, Jehu Seol looked up at the frozen crowd, pleading with them to act. Don't just stand there. Help us. Guak Donghoon, Shin Young Seo, and the others could only stare, a mixture of fear and indecision paralyzing them. Overwhelmed by the horror, Shin Young Seo turned and fled, abandoning the scene. Guak Donghoon, however, remained, his face contorted in anguish, a chilling thought crossing his mind. Isn't it already too late? But amidst the debris and despair, Jehu Seol, though battered, met the crisis with a fierce, unwavering determination. As Lee Seola is violently pulled into the gaping maw of the chasm, her desperate plea for help echoes, while Jehu Seol, still on the ground, reaches out in vain. He glances up at the frozen onlookers, a sharp tisich escaping his lips, before his gaze hardens with resolve. With a sudden surge of power, a spectral spear materializes in his hand, its presence thrumming with a low, rhythmic beat. Ignoring the terrified screams of the crowd, he charges forward, a blur of motion towards the dark abyss. Without hesitation, he leaps into the chasm, his foot splashing into a pool of blood as he descends. The jagged earth scrapes past him, swallowing him whole into the unknown depths. He lands with a sickening thud, not on solid ground, but on a grotesque pile of bodies. A wave of pure horror washes over him as he recognizes a familiar face among the dead, while above, the onlookers peer down, their faces etched with fear and disbelief. Among the mangled forms, the lifeless body of Lee Seola's brother lies still, a grim testament to the chasm's deadly embrace. A body drops into the chasm with a sickening thud, disappearing into the darkness below. Meanwhile, Jehu Seol races forward, his voice strained as he desperately calls out, Nuna. His frantic search takes its toll, as he pulls off a shoe to reveal a foot already bleeding from the rough descent, the wound a stark reminder of the chasm's dangers. Above, the horror of the situation dawns on everyone, with Jehu Seol and the others looking on in stunned disbelief, their faces etched with shock and growing concern. At the bottom of the dark pit, the bloodied form of Lee Seola lies motionless, a grim testament to the chasm's lethal embrace. From above, Guak Donghoon, Shin Young Seo, and the blonde receptionist gaze down with grim expressions, the full weight of the tragedy settling upon them. Suddenly, a guttural, horrifying scream echoes from the depths, as a monstrous, emaciated creature with glowing red eyes emerges from the shadows. It stands over the pile of fallen bodies, its gaunt form a terrifying silhouette against the gloom, its glowing gaze fixed on the horrified onlookers above. The creature's face, a grotesque mask of sharp teeth and distorted features, is a vision of pure, unadulterated horror. The ground is a gruesome tableau of blood and shattered glass, a foot stepping into the carnage with a sickening crunch. Above, a collective gasp of terror rips through the air, as Guak Donghoon, Shin Young Seo, and another man recoil in abject horror from the unfolding nightmare. No one is safe, as the monster's emaciated hand reaches into a cramped closet, its fingers closing in on a cowering woman in a blue hoodie, who trembles uncontrollably. The creature stands amidst a room of carnage, its presence a chilling testament to the fear and death it has wrought upon the trapped survivors. Elsewhere, a woman in a red dress strains against the door, her muscles taut as she tries to keep it shut, the wood groaning under the pressure. But a man with orange hair grabs her, pulling her away from the futile effort, shouting for her to move as the door begins to give. As she falls to the floor, he quickly snatches up a nearby chair, his eyes fixed on the approaching threat. With a surge of desperate courage, he hoists the chair high above his head, preparing for a desperate, last-ditch stand. Then, with a guttural roar, he swings the makeshift weapon at the monstrous creature, determined to fight for his life. The metallic shriek of a cell phone being violently crushed echoes through the air. As a spiderweb of cracks spreads across its screen, the device groaning under the pressure, revealing the monstrous, clawed hand that grips it, leaving it a mangled, useless husk. The shattered fragments of the phone then clatter to the ground, a stark reminder of the creature's destructive power. Amidst the rising panic, Jehuseol, his face etched with desperation, screams, "Open the door, you dumb fucks." Before anyone can react, the monster lunges forward, a blur of predatory motion tearing into the huddled survivors. Its razor-sharp claws find purchase in a screaming victim, a sickening spray of blood erupting from the impact. The creature stands menacingly over the cowering group, its presence radiating pure, unadulterated terror. With another swift, brutal strike, it continues its merciless slaughter. The creature's emaciated face fills the space, its glowing red eyes and gaping maw a testament to its brutal power. Panic erupts among the survivors as the monster continues its assault, leaving bodies strewn across the floor, while someone cries out, "The door opened?" Amidst the carnage, Jehuseol clenches his fist, a single question echoing in his mind. Why? His gaze remains unervingly steady, a strange calm settling over him as he wonders, why am I so calm? As the monster continues its rampage in the background, Jehu steps forward, a realization dawning on him. He has always possessed an ability. His feet move with purpose, and his hand instinctively grips a weapon, rejecting the thought of an action. No. His resolve hardens, knowing that the solution he seeks is already within his grasp. With a firm grip, he prepares his spear, ready to face the terror. As Jehuseol stands ready, spear in hand, a translucent, armored warrior, glowing with ethereal light, manifests above him, mirroring his stance against the monstrous creature. His eyes narrow with a sudden, sharp understanding, as he declares, "That thing isn't just any beast." In a memory from his childhood, a young Jehuseol runs with a determined expression, a sense of purpose already burning within him. Meanwhile, in the present, a frantic escape unfolds as Yoon Seo-rae, Lee Seo-la, and her brother dash through the urban streets, their footsteps echoing with urgency. Elsewhere, Guak Donghoon turns to Shin Young-seo, declaring, "We head home," while Jehuseol stands alone, his gaze cast downward in quiet contemplation. The desperate flight continues for Yoon Seo-rae and her companions, their faces etched with terror as they glance back at their pursuer. A man with long hair and glasses lets out a terrified cry, his eyes wide with panic as he looks over his shoulder. But Jehuseol stands firm, a spear clutched in his hand, ready to face the monstrous threat head-on, two figures huddled behind him. The chasm creature, a horrifying entity with glowing red eyes and an emaciated form, lets out a piercing shriek as it lunges forward, jaws agape. Unflinching, Jehuseol tightens his grip on the spear, preparing to meet the charge with a decisive strike. The chasm creature lets out a piercing shriek, lunging forward with a clawed hand. Suddenly, a memory flashes back to a younger Jehuseol, his eyes burning with an intense orange glow as a powerful aura erupts around him. Back in the present, the monster is violently thrown backward, slamming into a distant wall with a heavy impact. It slowly recovers from the blow, snarling as blood drips from its visible injuries. The creature pushes itself upright, its emaciated body and tattered flesh still growling defiantly. The flashback continues, focusing on a faintly glowing spear, the weapon of his childhood power. Two broken spear shafts lie on the ground. As the young boy looks down at them, a disbelieving laugh escaping him. He stares at his own hands, questioning the immense, destructive power he just wielded. Returning to the present, Jehuseol, Lee Seo-la, and her brother stand together, their expressions tense as they look intently at something off-panel. A large man strains against the door, his muscles bulging as he struggles to keep it shut, or perhaps to force it open. Meanwhile, a blonde-haired man speaks with a knowing smirk, declaring that some problems cannot be solved with mere strength or intensity. Unaware of these ominous words, Lee Seo-la's brother stands outside a building, his gaze fixed on a small, vibrant flower. Later, inside, he holds a bucket, his reflection visible in the window as he looks out, a quiet moment before the storm. The blond man continues his unsettling monologue, asserting that no one, not even the mighty Jeho, can escape the relentless grip of the water dragon. Suddenly, a violent impact shatters the stillness, sending fragments flying with a sharp clang. Lee Seo-la's brother, startled, peers through the now damaged window, his hand reaching out in disbelief as he questions what he sees. His eyes widen in terror as a massive, shadowy figure with glowing red eyes looms into view just beyond the glass. Overwhelmed by the sight, he lets out a desperate shout. In a dimly lit alley, a man with light hair urgently calls out, his voice strained as a masked figure approaches from the shadows. A voice echoes in his mind, urging him to open his eyes, reminding him that he is the only one who truly understands what he's doing. He clutches his head, the words a painful burden, his face contorted in anguish. His eyes, though still heavy with despair, begin to flutter open. He pushes himself up from the floor, his body trembling as he looks out from a dark corner. The view opens to a vast, empty room, littered with debris, a scene of desolation. Later, a lone figure walks down a dimly lit corridor, the only light emanating from a glowing rectangular device held in his hand. Jehuseol, now in a well-lit room, examines the device, his expression thoughtful. He continues his solitary walk through the dark hall, the device still casting its soft glow. Back in the present, Jehu Seol stares at his phone, a question forming in his mind. Is that right? Jehu Seol arrived at the second-floor waiting area, his eyes fixed on his phone, a surprised question escaping him. The screen displayed a detailed map of the main building's second floor, where sudden, glowing indicators flared to life, accompanied by a loud, echoing crash. His brow furrowed in confusion and concern as he stared at the glowing device, wondering what new development was unfolding. A soft electronic chime emanated from the phone, confirming the data he was seeing. With a swift, determined turn of his head, he processed the information, his expression hardening. The corridor ahead was dark, save for a sliver of light escaping from a slightly ajar door, and a low, persistent hum filled the air. As he stepped into the gloom, his phone emitted a soft, almost anxious puff of light, reflecting the growing concern on his face. His gaze remained fixed downward, his footsteps echoing softly as he continued deeper into the building, the persistent hum accompanying his every move. He continues his cautious search through the dimly lit corridor, the soft glow from his device illuminating only a small path ahead, as he mutters to himself, wondering if his target isn't here either. In the evening, a lone figure stands in silhouette, a soft green glow emanating from the object held in his hand, marking the fifth step of some unknown process. A gasp escapes Jehu Seol as the green light intensifies, enveloping him in its ethereal glow. The vibrant aura now fully surrounds him, a luminous green energy radiating from his form. His eyes glow with the same emerald light, and he wonders why the color of the energy hasn't changed. A new, yellow glow begins to pulse from his hands, causing him to recoil in distress, unsure of what to do next. Then, a sudden thought strikes him, a realization about a status window. As if summoned by his very thought, a translucent green status window materializes directly before his face. Just as one status window faded from his sight, another materialized, this one detailing a general of creations named Hyun Sang-min, summoned on March 16, 2017. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, his hand glowing with an eerie light as he demanded to know who was there. His gaze sharpened, the man in the green cap then pressed, "Are you the gold marker?" Jehu Seol stood his ground, his sneakers planted firmly on the pavement. The two men faced each other in the dim alley, a silent standoff before the conversation could continue. A slight smile touched Hyun Sang-min's lips as he admitted, "It took me quite a while to find you." Jehu Seol, still processing the sudden encounter, could only manage, me, before the other man suggested, "Let's discuss this together." Hyun Sang-min clarified his position, explaining, "As you can see, I'm not the one with a gold marker." He then pondered aloud, "So why wouldn't it be more convenient to just find another gold marker guys group?" Pointing directly at him, Hyun Sang-min reiterated his core question. "No. To start, are you a gold marker?" Hyun Sang-min's voice cuts through the air, demanding to know if Jehu Seol is the gold marker he's been searching for, his tone implying a deep, almost faded connection. He then introduces himself, a system window materializing to confirm his identity as the General of Creations, a title that hangs heavy with unspoken power. The window further details his core traits, revealing a self-centered temperament and an extraordinary aptitude, suggesting a formidable and ruthless individual who possesses great instincts. Jehu Seol's eyes widen slightly, a flicker of confusion and dawning realization crossing his features as he processes the unexpected information. Standing before him, Hyun Sang-min presses on, his voice unwavering as he demands to know Jehu Seol's purpose for being there. Without warning, the General of Creations lunges, snatching at Jehu Seol's bag and sending it tumbling to the ground. The sudden force sends Jehu Seol sprawling, landing hard on the pavement as Hyun Sang-min looms over him, his questions turning into accusations about the benefits he's supposedly seeking. Still on the ground, Jehu Seol struggles to comprehend the situation, while the other man continues his relentless interrogation about the benefits he's supposedly gaining. Hyun Sang-min's gaze is sharp, his voice laced with suspicion as he accuses Jehu Seol of deviating from some unknown plan. He reflects on his past, acknowledging that he's always possessed a unique ability. But even with that power, he questions if it truly had a good side. He recalls trying to help others, to be a hero, but ultimately, he failed to save anyone, unable to lend a hand when it truly mattered. His efforts were in vain, a tutorial that simply failed to activate. He hears a voice in his memory, urging him to listen, promising to show him the way. The voice continues, questioning the notion of equality, and asking what he truly gained from this hierarchy. He remembers the path he chose, the one where he teamed up with others, believing that if they worked together, everything would be meaningful. In a flashback, Hyun Sang-min observes Jehu Seol, remarking, "I can see why you're so obsessed with him." He then extends his hand, offering a deal, and with a surprising twist, introduces himself, "Call me Seol, be a General of Creations, and I'll make sure you get your benefits." He finds himself confronted by Hyun Sang-min and another man, who question his intentions, asking what he plans to do now. The man with dreadlocks presses him further, insisting on hearing his plan. Meanwhile, Hyun Sang-min and Lee Seol-am move through a darkened area, discussing the urgent need to find something, though its nature remains unclear. Jehu Seol, lost in thought, reflects on the honor they were given. A shimmering, pinkish-purple energy field manifests, its ethereal glow casting an ominous light. A group of civilians huddles together in the darkness, their faces etched with fear. A man in a suit explains the dire situation, revealing that an invisible wall blocks the main entrance and only a monster can break it. As Lee Seola asks what they should do, the suit man coldly suggests using the unsuspecting civilians as bait to clear their path. A man, trapped and sweating, laments his choices, wishing he had fought back against whatever force led him to this predicament. His companion, holding a frightened child, accuses him of turning away, while he insists he was only trying to escape. The metallic clank of a lock echoes, sealing their fate. Meanwhile, Lee Seola, her expression sharp with frustration, challenges the suit man, demanding to know his next move after his bright ideas have led them to this point. The suit man simply hums in thought, his fingers pressed to his chin, unfazed by her pointed question. His gaze remains distant, lost in calculation. Outside, the imposing structure of the building stands silent, a stark contrast to the desperate discussions within. The man with dreadlocks confirms that the name Jehu Seol chose, Gluttony, was already taken. He elaborates, explaining that the name Gluttony likely belongs to someone of at least gold class, prompting Jehu Seol to question why he waited so long to reveal this information. As they continue walking, the dreadlocks man simply states that they needed to see what they would find. He then muses aloud, wondering if it's like a weapon to beat the monster. Jehu Seol's footsteps echo as he asks. Then, a door bursts open, and the dreadlocks man declares, "We'll find out here." With a glint in his eye, he adds that the idea doesn't sound far from what he's looking for. Having arrived at their destination, Jehu Seol stands before what appears to be the main building of the complex. His companion, the dreadlocks man, turns to him, asking if he understands the gravity of their situation, his expression serious. The entire group, including Lee Seola, Hyun Sang-min, and the suit man, gathers, sitting on the ground as if in a tense discussion, their faces reflecting a mix of weariness and concern. Lee Seola voices her apprehension, questioning if they truly have to proceed with their dangerous task. The dreadlocks man, however, remains firm, challenging her to offer a better alternative if she has one. As the argument continues, Lee Seola tries to explain her reservations, but he quickly cuts her off, silencing her with a sharp retort. She looks down, muttering a dire warning about the consequences if they fail, while Jehu, turning his back to the group, suggests they search for him one more time. As the three of them move deeper into the area, Jehu suddenly kneels, his gaze fixed on a small, glowing object on the ground. Lee Seola watches him with a mix of curiosity and concern, wondering aloud what he is doing. Overwhelmed by the situation, Jehu Seol remains silent, his back to his companion, as Lee Seola tries to reason with him, acknowledging his distress but insisting they must leave the dangerous area. He struggles with the weight of their predicament, while she continues, reminding him that they are merely bait in this perilous scenario. Her expression is etched with concern, her brow furrowed as she watches him. Still, he remains slumped on the ground, his head bowed in apparent defeat. Suddenly, a spark of determination ignites within him, and he rises, calling out that he has found something. Meanwhile, the dreadlocks man, far from the emotional turmoil, stands resolute, declaring it's time to prepare. In a different part of the complex, perhaps a deserted office, Lee Seola meticulously searches through stacks of documents. Her eyes widen as she spots something crucial, a soft exclamation escaping her lips. Clutching the document tightly, she confirms her discovery with a determined declaration. With a fierce resolve, he vows internally that he will not perish here. Meanwhile, in another location, a young woman cowers against a wall, her voice trembling as she cries out for help. A monstrous, dog-like creature with dark fur lunges forward, its clawed hand reaching for her. Her eyes widen in sheer terror, a silent gasp escaping her as she covers her mouth. The creature's snarling visage, with glowing red eyes, is reflected in the glass of a nearby window. Then, with a violent impact, the window shatters inward. As the chaos erupts, a small, glowing object taps against the ground near her foot. The monstrous creature lets out a guttural snarl, its red eyes burning with predatory intent. Elsewhere, Jehu Seol sprints forward, his face set with fierce determination. A memory flashes, showing a younger Jehu Seol, his voice sharp as he declares, "That's it," while a young Lee Seola protests, "I told you I was on the baseball team." The Water Dragon Master, also younger, interjects, asking, "Shall we get going?" But Lee Seola hesitates, concerned about the scene they're creating. As she turns to leave, a desperate plea escapes her lips, "Don't leave me." The memory fades, returning to the present. A door creaks open, revealing only darkness beyond, a chilling sound echoing through the silence. From the opening, a grotesque, clawed hand descends, blood dripping from its sharp talons. Lee Seola clamps a hand over her mouth, her eyes wide with terror, as heavy thumping footsteps draw closer. The monstrous creature fully emerges, its glowing eyes fixed on her, a terrifying silhouette against the dim light. Overwhelmed by fear, her eyes squeeze shut, tears streaming down her face as she braces for the inevitable. She lies on the floor, surrounded by shattered glass from a broken window, the mysterious glowing object now resting beside her. A monstrous creature snarls, its glowing red eyes fixed on an unseen target, saliva dripping from its elongated maw. With a sickening crunch, it violently smashes through a barrier, its claws tearing through the structure as a man and child recoil in terror. The man instinctively pulls the young girl close, shielding her as she cries out in fear. Without a moment to spare, the man, the girl, a woman, and a boy desperately flee the encroaching danger. As they run, one of the fleeing individuals stumbles and falls to the ground. The monstrous creature continues its relentless pursuit, its glowing eyes scanning for prey with a chilling, clicking sound. With a guttural growl, it lunges, its claws striking the fallen man with a sickening crunch, sending him sprawling. He cries out in pain, clutching his side as he desperately tries to push himself away from the attacker. The creature looms over him, its terrifying silhouette dominating the space, ready to deliver a final, fatal blow. The red-eyed monster, its decaying flesh and exposed teeth a horrifying sight, lets out a low, guttural growl, its glowing eyes fixed on an unseen target. Hyun Sang-min races through the streets, pulling Lee Seola along, their faces etched with desperation. As they near a closed door, he glances back, a flicker of terror in his eyes. Behind them, their protective, glowing sphere shatters with a sharp crack. A heavy thud echoes, causing both Hyun Sang-min and Lee Seola to flinch, their fear intensifying. Lee Seola hesitates, her expression a mask of pure dread. Hyun Sang-min looks back once more, his gaze falling upon the decaying monster now visible in the distance, surrounded by fallen figures. "What are you doing?" he shouts, grabbing her arm. "Getting quick, get in." Lee Seola's gaze falls, her hand reaching for a doorknob, the metallic click echoing in the tense silence. As the heavy mechanism engages, a deep, resonant thud signals their temporary safety. Inside the building, she looks at her trembling hands, while Hyun Sang-min watches her with a grim expression. He turns to a window, his voice sharp as he warns her not to look outside, demanding to know why she would even consider witnessing the horror. With a resolute gaze, he declares that they need more time, his words a stark reminder of their precarious situation. But then, his tone shifts, a cynical edge entering his voice as he questions her idealism, asking if she truly believed she could navigate this world without getting her hands dirty. His face hardens further as he asserts that true thought involves harsh realities, warning her not to let her sense of justice lead them all to ruin. Leading the way, he guides her and a small child deeper into the building, their footsteps echoing softly as they seek further refuge. Left alone for a moment, Lee Seola stands in thought, her hand resting on her chin, a troubled expression clouding her features. Hyun Sang-min calls out to Hee-jin, who stands at the bottom of the stairs, a small child beside her. She responds with a soft, almost inaudible sound, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. As they face each other, the weight of their situation hangs heavy in the air, both contemplating the grim realities of their survival. Hee-jin then asks him if he truly believes in his harsh philosophy. His gaze is firm as he reiterates his conviction that they cannot save everyone, not even themselves, if they cling to false hope. A moment of quiet understanding passes between them, the weight of his words settling in. Later, Hyun Sang-min leads Hee-jin and the child through a dimly lit corridor, their footsteps echoing softly as they press onward. They eventually arrive at a convenience store, its interior bathed in the soft glow of fluorescent lights. Inside, Hyun Sang-min speaks with Dreadlocks Man, revealing that there is something crucial the elder had failed to mention, a piece of information unknown to anyone else. He considers the strict time limit and conditions imposed by the tutorial. Meanwhile, Hyun Sang-min watches him, realizing that while he may not be a soul maker, his abilities are still far beyond the ordinary. A determined expression crosses his face as he resolves to stay close, convinced that his own capabilities simply cannot measure up to the young man's. As Joo-seol reaches for a door handle, a sharp command rings out, stopping him mid-action. Hyun Sang-min grabs his shoulder, cautioning him to step back, insisting that they don't know what dangers might lie beyond the threshold. With a serious expression, he reiterates his point, declaring that Joo-seol is simply not suited for this type of task. Beyond the door, a vast room unfolds, its shelves stretching high, bathed in an otherworldly glow. The light emanates from countless books and artifacts, filling the space with a soft, golden luminescence. He carefully shines his flashlight into the darkness, illuminating rows of shelves. Stealthily, he moves forward, his footsteps barely audible, until he steps into a vast, brightly lit chamber, where another figure already stands deeper within. The protagonist, standing at the threshold, gazes into the newly revealed space. His eyes widen slightly, taking in the incredible sight. Before them stretches an immense room, filled with countless shelves holding glowing books and artifacts, their light illuminating the entire chamber. Turning to his companion with a satisfied smile, Hyun Sang-min confirms the area is secure. Joo-seol responds with a slight smirk, acknowledging the assessment. Standing together at the entrance, they prepare to delve deeper, their immediate goal to search for provisions and anything else useful within this mysterious library. A frustrated sigh escapes him as he looks down, the memory of a recent struggle still fresh. They had been unable to defeat a monster in this area, despite their efforts. Turning his gaze upwards, he spots a faint light, while his companion follows his lead, also looking towards the distant glow. His companion, still processing the strange environment, wonders aloud if this unusual power they sense is the core mana itself. As they begin to ascend a nearby staircase, his companion asks what their next move should be, suggesting they search for weapons, but he replies that they should go up, as he has something to show him. Pointing towards the upper levels, he explains that if they continue up these stairs, they will reach the second-floor waiting room. His companion, curious about his certainty, inquires how he knows this information. Without a word, he pulls out his phone, its screen glowing with an unexpected display. Reflected in the device, his own surprised expression mirrors his exclamation. A map has appeared, one he hadn't possessed before. Seeing the new information, his companion remarks that if they now have a map, there's no longer a need to ascend to the waiting room. He taps the screen of his phone, drawing attention to a detailed map. The map reveals a critical detail. The dots indicate a trap, and they were originally meant to go to a boss's cave one floor up, but are currently safe on the second floor. Jehu Seol stares at the intricate display, marveling at the map's detail and admitting he never knew such a thing was possible. A sudden realization dawns on Hyun Sang-min, making him question if the map operates on a first-come, first-served basis. He expresses hope that they can utilize the map first, to which Jehu Seol agrees, stating there's no longer a reason to head to the waiting room. With their plans altered, Jehu Seol begins to ascend a metal staircase, glancing back. Hyun Sang-min follows, his gaze also directed behind them. He confirms their change of course with a simple, okay. Together, they continue their ascent up the stairs. Hyun Sang-min confirms that the waiting room, their original destination, was indeed a trap, a place where they would have been cornered. Jehu Seol, acknowledging the danger, agrees that taking such a risk would have been foolish. With their new path decided, they begin their ascent up the cold, metal staircase. A look of surprise crosses Hyun Sang-min's face as he processes the map's accuracy, muttering about the information being correct. Jehu Seol confirms the map's reliability, explaining that the dungeon's rewards operate on a first-come, first-served basis. Their path soon leads them to a formidable obstacle, a towering gate of thick metal bars. Hyun Sang-min sighs in resignation at the sight, while Jehu Seol calmly states they've reached the 6th floor. Jehu Seol reiterates the urgency, reminding him that the first-come, first-served rule means they can't afford to waste time. A sudden chill runs down Hyun Sang-min's spine, leaving him with an unsettling feeling. The metal door ahead, marked with a stark green exit sign, offered no comfort, its cold surface reflecting the unsettling chill that had just run through Hyun Sang-min. As he and Jehu Seol stood before it, the silence of the 6th floor pressed in around them. Hyun Sang-min voiced his unease, asking, "What is this?" The question hung in the air as a low, drawn-out creak echoed from the door's mechanism, the handle slowly turning as if by an unseen hand. Before they could react, a sudden, unseen force erupted from within, sending both men recoiling as a spray of crimson splattered across the opening, a violent greeting from whatever lay beyond. Stunned, they peered into the darkness, revealing a corridor bathed in an eerie red glow, its walls and floor slick with fresh blood, a gruesome scene of carnage stretching into the unknown. Stepping into a dimly lit, desolate hallway alongside a man in a suit, Jehu Seol feels an immediate sense of unease, muttering that the atmosphere doesn't seem friendly. His expression tightens, a growing tension etched across his features. As his unique ability activates, his eyes glow with an intense emerald light, revealing the power of his 9 eyes. The long, empty corridor stretches before them, its silence amplifying the unseen threat. A deep concern settles over him as he realizes the danger, a silent warning echoing in his mind. Do not approach. His companion wonders aloud what they should do next, questioning if they should continue deeper into the unknown, or if they might encounter another monster. Jehu Seol, unable to discern anything from their current vantage point, agrees to press forward, suggesting they try to get a closer look. They both stand before a dark, grated passage, peering into the ominous depths beyond. His companion, his face etched with apprehension, asks if Jehu Seol truly believes he isn't terrified. Jehu Seol remains silent, his gaze fixed. Suddenly, his eyes flare with an intense green light as he activates his 9 eyes ability. He perceives something unexpected, a realization dawning on him. It's colorless? His companion looks at him, sensing the shift in his demeanor. He considers the implications of his vision, the entity's lack of green suggesting something profoundly unnatural. Reaching out from behind a rusted grate, he feels a growing sense of urgency. Then, from the shadows, a monstrous form with glowing red eyes fully manifests, its presence chilling the air. Nearby, Hyun Sang-min's face contorts in pure terror at the sight. Jehu Seol and Lee Seol-ah stand frozen, their expressions mirroring the same profound fear. The creature wastes no time, a massive, clawed foot slamming down with bone-jarring force. Its grotesque face lunges forward, a long, writhing tongue flicking out. Without a moment's hesitation, Jehu Seol seizes Lee Seol-ah's hand, pulling her into a desperate sprint as the monster gives chase, its guttural roar echoing through the confined space. Run! He pulls her along, his mind racing, as the terrifying reality of their situation sinks in. he exclaims, barely believing what he sees. While Hyun Sangmin shouts, "It's right there," his voice strained with panic, and Lee Seola cries out, "Honey." Behind them, the monstrous entity lets out a guttural growl, its form shifting and twisting with dark energy. Its glowing red eyes fixate on them, a predatory hunger in their depths. As it lunges forward with terrifying speed, the sheer horror of the creature's attack washes over the group, their faces contorted in disbelief and terror. Lee Seola screams, her hand reaching out in desperation, while Hyun Sangmin stares, frozen in a cold sweat. The monster, a blur of dark power, closes the distance, its claws extended for the kill. The creature's face fills the view, its eyes glowing a malevolent red as blood drips from its razor-sharp fangs. A chilling scream echoes through the air, a primal sound of pure terror that seems to shake the very foundations of the building. Inside, he and Lee Seola look back in horror, their faces contorted in disbelief and fear at the sight behind them. Hyun Sangmin, too, turns with a grim expression, the blood-splattered wall beside him a stark reminder of the danger. Injured, he scrambles desperately across the blood-stained floor, crawling away as Lee Seola runs past him, trying to escape the relentless pursuit. A foot steps heavily into the pooling crimson, and then a vibrant blue energy begins to surge and coalesce. The monster, now fully visible, roars as it's engulfed in this powerful blue aura, its form growing more menacing with each pulse of light. It turns, now outside the building, its glowing eyes fixed on a new target. The blue energy it emits begins to spread rapidly, engulfing the doorframes and filling the hallways of the school with an ominous glow. Jihu Seol and Lee Seola scramble up the stairs, their escape desperate. While behind them, the monstrous entity, now fully revealed, drags its chains with a chilling shriek. Both turn, their faces etched with terror. As Lee Seola urges, "Sungjin, let's run," and he nods grimly in agreement. Their eyes, wide with fear and determination, reflect the dire situation, a silent countdown of 1, 2. They push themselves harder, a blur of motion through the school's corridors. The creature closes in, its guttural roar echoing through the hall as it lunges, landing with a sickening crunch on all fours, ready to strike. A piercing shriek escapes Lee Seola as Jihu Seol watches in horror, the monster upon them. The monstrous entity, all sharp claws and glowing red eyes, lunges forward, closing the distance on the two fleeing figures. A terrified scream rips through the air as Lee Seola cries out, "Sungjin," while Hyun Sangmin, hearing her distress, turns with a questioning, "Huh?" Without hesitation, Hyun Sangmin's hand dives into his bag, retrieving a small, spherical device. He grips the object firmly, his gaze sharp with resolve. With both hands, he presses down on its surface, a low, mechanical whirring sound emanating from within. A flash of surprise crosses his face as the device activates, its power surging unexpectedly. Meanwhile, the monster continues its relentless pursuit, its form a terrifying blur of predatory intent. Jihu Seol, with a determined expression, hurls a dark, spherical object forward. As the monstrous creature with glowing red eyes recoils in surprise, the projectile closing the distance rapidly. A sharp impact echoes as the sphere connects with its target. The force of the blow sends the creature reeling, its form momentarily distorted by the shockwave. Later, under the pale light of the moon, Jihu Seol sprints through the night, carrying Lee Seola safely on his back as they make their escape. The city streets remain eerily quiet, illuminated only by the distant glow of street lamps. Back inside, Lee Seola, Hyun Sangmin, and another woman stare ahead, their faces etched with profound shock and disbelief. From the darkness, a pair of glowing red eyes pierce through the gloom, followed by the terrifying visage of a monstrous creature with jagged teeth and a predatory snarl. Nearby, a defeated figure lies crumpled on the cold floor, uttering a pained, guttural sound. The monster, meanwhile, claws its way up a blood-splattered staircase, its dark form moving with unsettling speed. Elsewhere, a man stands silhouetted behind heavy metal bars, his hands reaching out in a desperate, silent plea. His fingers grip the cold metal tightly, his face contorted in a silent, agonizing scream. His mouth opens wide, a single, desperate word escaping his lips, "Please." As he stares out from his confinement, a sudden system message appears before him, announcing, "A new user has been registered." He can only stare back in bewildered confusion. The heavy bars before him clank, the sound echoing ominously. Again, the bars clank loudly, and the man looks down, a single question hanging in the air, "All right?" The man from before strains against an unseen force, his face contorted in a grimace of effort. A flicker of doubt crosses his features as he mutters, "It should be okay to," but his words are cut short as the metallic clang of bars echoes, revealing him trapped behind them, a woman and child staring back in shock. The bars rattle again, and the woman cries out, her hand pressed against the cold metal in distress. He reaches out to them, his voice filled with disbelief, questioning the impossible situation. The woman calls out to him, her voice laced with fear, as the child echoes her plea, recognizing him as their father. His face twists in agony, a silent scream of despair escaping him as he processes the reality of his confinement. With a heavy heart, he turns away from his family, beginning to run, glancing back one last time at their fading figures. He races through the dark corridor, his eyes now burning with an ominous red glow, a fierce determination hardening his expression. Having just escaped, he finds himself in a new, unfamiliar corridor, where a man named Hyun Sang-min is on the ground, frantically pleading for help. His face contorted in terror, Hyun Sang-min cries out, asking what's wrong with himself. He scrambles to a nearby door, desperately trying to force it open, but it remains stubbornly shut. Observing the scene, Jae-seol dismisses the man's plight, believing he should handle his own troubles. Yet, as Hyun Sang-min's pleas continue, a flicker of curiosity crosses his face. Still on the ground, Hyun Sang-min desperately begs for assistance, warning that a monster will soon appear if he doesn't get help. The mention of a monster gives Jae-seol pause, as he weighs the risk. The old man will surely die if left alone, but helping him could mean his own demise. Though this situation is different from what he expected, he ultimately decides he cannot simply abandon the man. Before he can act, Hyun Sang-min lets out a blood-curdling scream, collapsing to the floor in terror. Hyun Sang-min's face contorts in pure terror, sweat beading on his skin. As he recoils sharply, a frantic scramble of footsteps echoing around him. His eyes are wide with an unspeakable horror. The source of his anguish lies before him. Two women, one with long black hair, the other with brown, both tragically still. He collapses beside them, his voice breaking as he cries out for his wife and Hee-jin, who lies lifeless. Scrambling away, a desperate plea escapes his lips as he shows Jae-seol a small device. He begs for help, his breath ragged and uneven. Jae-seol's expression hardens, his gaze sharp and resolute. He clenches his fist, ready to unleash a powerful strike. Hyun Sang-min, his face a mask of desperation, stares at a large red button, convinced that even if it opens something, it's already too late, a game they've lost. The ominous red button glows, a stark symbol of a final, irreversible choice. His voice cracks with a desperate plea, insisting it's still not too late, his finger pointing. He demands to know if the monster can be killed, his hand reaching out to press the button, a Korean word for stop, or halt, appearing as he makes contact. Jae-seol, his expression calm but firm, counters that instead of looking for an escape, one should focus on searching for solutions, acknowledging that life is rarely simple. A horrifying image flashes, the unnamed wife, upside down, bloodied, her last cry of honey, echoing. Overwhelmed by guilt and terror, Hyun Sang-min cries out that he has no choice, that there's no other way, repeatedly apologizing. Jae-seol's voice cuts through the despair, asserting that there's no such thing as no choice, only a lack of courage to make one, as the wife's final honey reverberates once more. The memory intensifies, the daughter's bloodied hand reaching out, her voice calling dad, as Hyun Sang-min's face contorts in silent agony. After pressing the mysterious button, he finds himself confined, his hands gripping cold, unforgiving bars. Suddenly, a blue system window materializes above him, announcing, a new user has been registered. As Jae-seol looks up, his expression a mix of surprise and apprehension. His gaze remains fixed on the message, the implications of this unexpected development clearly weighing on him. As they navigate the facility, the Dreadlocks man watches Jae-seol with a mix of awe and confusion, wondering aloud how he manages to bypass the security measures so easily. His companion warns him to hold on, insisting that they can't just waltz in, as the path ahead is riddled with traps, but Jae-seol continues forward, seemingly unconcerned. With a soft click, a gate suddenly slams shut behind Jae-seol, trapping his companion on the other side, who calls out in surprise. Jae-seol turns back, calmly explaining that he just remembered he isn't the only one capable of such feats, leaving the Dreadlocks man to ponder his words. A small smirk plays on Jae-seol's lips, as his companion remains trapped. The Dreadlocks man grips the bars, his face contorted in frustration, as Jae-seol stands impassively on the other side. He shouts, demanding to know if Jae-seol intends to simply abandon him there, his voice echoing with disbelief. Jae-seol's feet ascend the steps, as he continues his path through the facility. With a deliberate press, his finger activates a red button, and a heavy clank echoes as the bars slam shut, trapping the Dreadlocks man. The Dreadlocks man stares out, bewildered, through the newly sealed gate. The metallic clang still reverberating as he calls out, "Hey, you're forgetting something." Then, realizing the implication, mutters, "I was thinking about it." Hey, you're kidding, right?" he shouts, his voice laced with disbelief. Jae-seol merely glances back, a faint "huh" escaping him. Before his attention is drawn to the commotion below, a monstrous roar ripping through the air as a massive creature looms behind the bars, its presence now undeniable to both men. A child's desperate cry echoes through a dark, barred corridor, pleading for salvation. As a woman's voice urgently calls out for someone to open the way, while two figures plummet through an unseen abyss. Back in the present, Jae-seol stands with a serious expression, facing a man with striking white hair who wears a confident, almost smug, smile. The white-haired man questions their alliance, asking if the two of them have decided to team up. His gaze then shifts to a prominent red button, a focal point of their discussion. He warns them that only one person possesses the ability to activate it, implying a critical limitation. The Dreadlocks man, wearing his green cap, clarifies the mechanism, explaining that the first person to touch the bar is granted the authority. A sudden realization dawns on the white-haired man, his expression shifting as he lets out a surprised sound. The group, now including a black-haired woman, stands together, the implications of the authority weighing heavily on their collective minds. A chilling memory flashes, showing a hand desperately gripping metal bars, the sound of impact echoing. Behind them, a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes looms, its presence a stark reminder of the danger. Back in the present, the white-haired man lets out a relieved sigh. He then observes that someone else has already arrived, his hand moving to press a red button on the wall. The memory returns, a woman and child trapped behind bars, their desperate cries for dad and honey echoing in the void. Back in the present, the white-haired man declares his purpose. His fingers make contact, and the bar glows brighter. Jehu Seol watches, his eyes widening in surprise and concern. Beside him, the Dreadlocks man shakes his head slowly. The Dreadlocks man watches, his expression unreadable, as the implications of the white-haired man's actions settle in. Meanwhile, a haunting memory flashes through Jehu Seol's mind, of his father collapsing to his knees, pleading, "Honey, Sungjin, I'm sorry." A single tear escapes his father's clenched eye, his face contorted in anguish. Back in the present, Jehu Seol responds to the white-haired man's earlier statement, acknowledging that some decisions are beyond his control. The memory persists, his father's desperate apology echoing once more, "Honey, Sungjin, I'm sorry." He reaches out in vain as his wife and child fall away from him, their cries of honey and dad tearing through the air. They tumble head over heels, a monstrous, red-eyed entity rising from the depths below, its dark form crackling with ominous energy. His father looks back, a final, desperate reach, the sound of tearing fabric accompanying his futile effort. The monster's clawed hand extends, a chilling echo of honey, filling the void as the nightmare consumes them. A sickening crunch echoes through the void, followed by a violent impact and a spray of crimson. Two men, one with orange-brown hair and another in a cap, recoil in horror, their faces contorted in distress. From the darkness, a monstrous entity emerges, its red eyes glowing with malevolence, a low growl rumbling from its skeletal form as blue energy crackles around it. It stalks forward, leaving a trail of blood in its wake. Jehu Seol collapses to his knees, his body racked with despair. A quiet sob escapes him as the white-haired man stands over him, observing his anguish. With a detached expression, the man offers a chilling thought. "Well, that's unfortunate. But I'd like to say that they're not dead. They're just rest in peace." He then turns and walks away, leaving Jehu Seol alone in his grief, a faint, mocking laugh echoing behind him. He continues to walk alongside the white-haired man, the chilling words about the futility of their past efforts still echoing in his mind, as the man asserts there was nothing they could have done to save them. A memory flashes back to a younger him and his companion, who rationalizes their inaction, believing they too would have died for nothing. Back in the present, Jehu Seol sits alone, the weight of these thoughts pressing down on him, a grim acceptance settling in that it simply is what it is. The horrific image of the victims from the flashback burns in his mind, as the white-haired man's voice cuts through the silence, explaining that it's a dog-eat-dog kind of world. He looks up, then down, grappling with the harsh truth, conceding that the world has always been this way, but then a chilling question arises within him. Would he have done the same? His gaze falls to his feet, the thought of a loved one in danger twisting his gut, wondering what he would have done if it had been Manhwa caught in that situation. His face contorts in anguish, the question haunting him. What would he have done? A man in a sharp suit looks down, his expression unreadable. Lee Seola, wearing a green cap, reminds him to remain vigilant, knowing the stakes involved. Jehu Seol, looking surprised, recalls the place where the General of Creations graduated, wondering if she truly knows about it, and if she thought he was a complete idiot. Sitting beside him, she reiterates that he is her only hope, a heavy burden to bear. With a peace sign and a knowing look, Lee Seola admits that others are also watching him, but she won't press the matter further. Placing a hand on his shoulder, she explains that this place isn't the true paradise, but merely a reflection of it, leaving Jehu Seol utterly bewildered. As the weight of these revelations settles, Lee Seola's voice echoes, understanding why this path must be taken. Hyun Sang-min's conviction rings out, declaring that Jehu Seol will be the one to save them, a sentiment Jehu Seol himself seems to internalize. He reflects on his past, wondering how his entire family could have overlooked something so significant. There are many reasons, he muses, but he doesn't want to dwell on them, remembering that one person in his life never cared about the kind of life he was living, only about him. Everyone has their own circumstances, he concludes, and in their own circumstances, everyone needs him. Later, conversing with the Dreadlocks man, he agrees that while he'd be willing to listen to someone's story, he still feels the weight of his own. A click echoes through a bustling waiting room, signaling a new arrival. Jehu Seol's eyes widen slightly as an announcement confirms, Miss Yoon Seola has arrived at the second-floor waiting room. Meanwhile, Yoon Seola herself strides through a brightly lit corridor, her blue hair a striking contrast to her casual attire. Elsewhere, the white-haired man greets an unnamed companion with a familiar, "Oh ho," called I. Yoon Seola looks up, a hint of annoyance or surprise crossing her features, as if hearing the familiar address. With a soft rustle of fabric, she walks away from the waiting area, leaving the seated men behind. Finding a quiet corner, she leans against the wall, her posture conveying a deep sense of unease. A soft sound escapes her as she buries her face in her hand, overwhelmed. Meanwhile, a knowing smirk plays on the white-haired man's lips, his eyes glinting with a subtle amusement. He turns to Hyun Sang-min, asking, "All good? What's the matter?" The conversation shifts to the waiting room, where the remaining men are being held. Kong-gu's report indicates that 7 hunters remain as users, with the right to pick and choose among them. A document shows the total of 12, and Kong-gu's group, being first, took 3. Jehu Seol then reveals, "Out of the remaining 3, I took 1. As the selection process continues, a man known only as the old guy sits slumped, his head in his hands, overwhelmed by the weight of the situation. Meanwhile, Hyun Sang-min inquires about the selection of Hoon Seola, asking if her registration has been completed. The white-haired man, also present, clarifies the situation, stating that 3 individuals have already claimed 3 slots, leaving only 1 person for each of the 9 gates. Jehu Seol then explains the next phase of the process, where the remaining participants have the right to choose one of their own as a mate. Acknowledging the rule, the dreadlocks man instructs Hyun Sang-min to tell the others to allow the remaining participants to make their choices first. His expression remains resolute, his gaze sharp. Footsteps echo softly, ascending a stark, empty staircase. The rhythmic sound continues as several figures make their way up, among them Lee Seola. Her face is etched with distress, her eyes downcast as she continues her ascent. A stark, red-barred gate stands as an impenetrable barrier, blocking the path forward. From behind the bars, a woman with long dark hair demands to know why the path is blocked, while Hyun Sang-min, standing beside her, simply urges everyone to move. Outside the barrier, Lee Seola approaches, her frustration evident as she calls out, wondering if anyone is there. A guard quickly shushes her, warning that the monsters will hear them. Lee Seola's foot steps down, her thoughts racing as she wonders who could be responsible for this obstruction. The metallic clang of the bars echoes through the confined space, emphasizing the finality of the blockage. A small crowd has gathered, including Hyun Sang-min, the dreadlocks man, and the white-haired man, all looking on in surprise, as someone remarks on the unexpected turn of events. The old guy observes the scene with a worried expression, while from behind the bars, Hee-jin defiantly asks what they just called a winner. Hee-jin points towards a specific spot, indicating where they should look, as Lee Seola listens intently, her expression still troubled. A frustrated groan escapes Lee Seola, her jaw clenched tight. She mutters to herself, wishing she could simply pass through the barrier. The white-haired man, however, offers a different perspective, his gaze sharp as he addresses the group. He points to a small, ominous red button on the wall, suggesting a straightforward solution. The group watches as he explains his theory, pressing it should open the gate. Without hesitation, he steps through the bars and presses the button, only for the gate to clang shut behind him, trapping the entire group inside. Lee Seola's frustration boils over into a furious shout, demanding he stop his foolishness and open the gate immediately. But the dreadlocks man quickly shushes her, his finger to his lips, a warning in his eyes. Lee Seola's anger quickly turns to fear, her expression pleading for silence as the group remains trapped. Trapped behind the heavy metal bars, the group found themselves staring into the dark passage ahead. As Lee Seola, her frustration mounting, demanded, "Please open the gate." Hyun Sang-min, standing beside the white-haired man, seemed to confirm the unspoken rule of the dungeon. Explaining that, "It's true, only the one who opened can open it." A confident smirk spread across the white-haired man's face as he readily agreed, "Correct, that would be me." Lee Seola, her expression hardening with resolve, then urged him, "I understand. Please open it." But with a wide, unsettling grin and a faint glow in his eyes, he delivered a chilling refusal. "But no." Lee Seola confronts Weisberg, her voice rising in disbelief. "Are you telling me to go back to that hell again?" She pleads with him, her expression etched with concern. "Why are you like this?" "Not really. I can't go back to that hell." Hyun Sang-min and the dreadlocks man watch silently from behind the bars of what appears to be a holding cell. Weisberg, however, remains unyielding, his gaze firm as he dismisses her worries. "Who said I was going alone and a weak man behind my back?" Lee Seola's frustration boils over, her hands gripping the bars in agitation. "You." Weisberg lets out a short, dismissive laugh, then turns to leave, stating his intention to return once his task is complete. "Oh, anyway, I'll be going. You can do whatever you want. I'll be back when it's over." Lee Seola, still worried, reminds him of his importance. "It's not that we don't trust you. We're just worried. You're the only one here who can do this." He pauses, a hint of surprise or amusement crossing his face at her words. "Oh, for real?" Still confined behind bars, Weisberg challenges Lee Seola, asserting that he has no choice but to comply if she can prove her words, while she insists he must remain behind. As he holds up 4 fingers, she continues, explaining that she will rely on the power of those 4, before he cuts her off with a chilling question. With a menacing grin and eyes glowing faintly, he asks what she will do if a monster appears, warning that she will be devoured. Lee Seola's expression hardens, her gaze filled with a mix of worry and resolve. A glowing red mark appears on the palm of her hand, signifying a powerful ability. Turning to a woman named Shin Sang-mi, Lee Seola pleads with her, asking if she will undertake this task for them, and if she will somehow be compensated. Shin Sang-mi's face shows a determined resolve, while Lee Seola's inset expression remains deeply worried. The group stands together outside the cell, with Lee Seola, Shin Sang-mi, Hyun Sang-min, and the Dreadlocks man all present, as Weisberg watches them from behind the bars. A smirk plays on Weisberg's lips as he mockingly calls them martyrs, clearly unimpressed by their resolve. A red button is pressed with a distinct click. And immediately, a group of individuals bursts into a frantic run, their footsteps echoing rapidly. One man glances back over his shoulder, while Shin Sang-mi, her expression resolute, keeps her gaze fixed forward. Hyun Sang-min's eyes widen in surprise as the unnamed man rushes past him with a swift turn. Both Shin Sang-mi and the unnamed man share a look of deep concern, her voice calling out, "Sang-ah." As he echoes, "Miss Sang-ah." As Shin Sang-mi continues forward, a deafening crash suddenly erupts nearby. Reacting to the sound, Hyun Sang-min redoubles his efforts, sprinting with renewed urgency. Meanwhile, the unnamed man races up a flight of stairs, his movements swift and determined. The red button is pressed once more, and Hyun Sang-min looks on, utterly bewildered by the repeated action. He finds himself abruptly grabbed by the collar, a man's furious shout demanding to know what he's doing, but Hyun Sang-min only retorts, insisting he didn't start anything. Before he can react further, Hyun Sang-min is violently thrown to the ground, landing with a grunt as his assailant stands over him, while the white-haired man watches calmly from behind. But in a flash, the white-haired man moves, his pale hand gripping the unnamed man's wrist with an iron hold. The confrontation quickly turns, as the white-haired man effortlessly pins the aggressor to the ground, leaving Hyun Sang-min and Shin Sang-mi to watch in stunned silence. Now sitting beside the subdued man, who appears dazed, the white-haired man calmly advises him to reveal his intentions, warning that he's on a path to self-destruction, while Hyun Sang-min sits nearby, looking troubled. The weight of the situation presses down on him, Hyun Sang-min clutching his head in visible distress. Turning his attention to the distressed man, the white-haired man grabs Hyun Sang-min by the collar, asserting that he's not the one who should be getting on his nerves, as the unnamed man watches on with concern. Later, the white-haired man addresses Shin Sang-mi, who stands with the Dreadlocks man, asking if she intends to open something. From behind what appear to be prison bars, he offers a sly smirk, his decision hinging on the terms of their offer. He holds Hyun Sang-min firmly by the shoulder, his gaze unwavering as he declares that he's not one to let things go, demanding a sincere apology. Shin Sang-mi, looking troubled, asks what he expects her to do. He reiterates his demand for a sincere apology, but she retorts, questioning his meaning, asserting that she kneels to no one. From behind the bars, the white-haired man is surrounded by Hyun Sang-min, the Dreadlocks man, and the old guy, as Hyun Sang-min tries to de-escalate, asking what he truly wants. With a chilling lick of his lips, he simply commands, "Take it off." The others recoil in shock at his unexpected demand. He then clarifies his request, suggesting a striptease would make him feel better, claiming he's tired of all their names. Shin Sang-mi's face contorts in fury, cursing him as a crazy pervert. Unfazed, he calmly offers an alternative. If they refuse, they can simply come in and break another barrier. The white-haired man, still confined, casually reminds the group that both Hyunseong and Minwo are holding a barrier, implying their complicity or inability to intervene. His voice, sharp and demanding, cuts through the air as he presses Shin Sang-mi, asking what she's waiting for, telling her to F***ck off if she won't comply, the words causing a fresh injury to her lip. He continues, a chilling smile playing on his lips, threatening to simply break another barrier to reach her if she remains defiant. With a final, unnerving smile, he simply commands her to start. Shin Sang-mi stands frozen, her head bowed, the weight of his words crushing her spirit. The Dreadlocks man watches her, a grim expression on his face, while the old guy beside him remains silent, observing the unfolding cruelty. He gently taps the old guy's shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of their shared predicament. Turning his gaze forward, the Dreadlocks man speaks with a heavy tone, admitting his dislike for the situation but resigning himself to the harsh reality that it's simply the survival of the fittest. Shin Sang-mi's legs tremble uncontrollably, her body betraying the terror she feels. The white-haired man's voice cuts through the tension, a cold declaration that he is not asking, but commanding, threatening to shatter all barriers and end them if his will is defied. Beside him, the Dreadlocks man, his expression grim, acknowledges the harsh truth. They are trapped, and in this brutal reality, only the fittest will survive. Meanwhile, in a different space, Jehu Seol's gaze hardens, his thoughts turning to the same brutal principle. If this truly is a test of the strongest, then he will be the one to teach them its meaning. A powerful blue aura flares around him, his eyes glowing crimson as his innate ability, Future Vision, activates, a silent challenge to anyone who dares question who the strongest truly is. An innate ability, Future Union, has been actuated. Lee Seola hangs her head, her expression heavy with despair, her hands clenching tightly in her lap, a silent testament to her inner turmoil. Meanwhile, the white-haired man, imprisoned behind bars, smirks, asking if they're ready to take the top off too. Lee Seola stands alone, her shoulders slumped against the wall, lost in her sorrow. A voice cuts through the silence, mocking her tears, telling her she can't cry now. Hyun Sang-min's face contorts in anger, demanding that she dance before the monster. Hyun Sang-min, kneeling before Jehu Seol, offers a taunting invitation. With a smirk, he asks, "Hey, are you here to join the fun?" Jehu Seol looks down at him, his expression unreadable, and simply commands, "Open it." Hyun Sang-min's face contorts in a gasp of surprise or pain, a sound escaping his lips. He reflects on his nature, knowing he isn't one to defend strangers, yet a fierce determination ignites in his eyes, glowing crimson. Behind bars, Jehu Seol declares to the white-haired man beside him, "If you're going to leave her to die, I'll have to intervene myself." Later, or perhaps in a memory, Jehu Seol sits on the ground, utterly distraught, while the old guy watches him with a shocked expression. His mouth agape, a desperate plea escapes him, "Help me." His eyes still burning with that fierce red glow, he reflects on the pivotal moment, wondering what would have happened if he had made up his mind earlier. His thoughts drift to a past moment, a hand reaching out, a figure falling. And the profound regret that things could have been different. Snapping back to the present, he declares, "I won't hear you out anymore." The white-haired man, taken aback, questions, "What?" Jehu Seol admits his fear of what he's done, his eyes glowing faintly blue, while the other man, recognizing a name, asks about the great Kong-suk. The two stand facing each other, a palpable tension between them. A smirk plays on the white-haired man's lips as he dismisses Jehu Seol's authority, questioning, "Why should I listen to you? Because you have a gold marking?" Jehu Seol, determined, offers, "I'll tell you everything I know. I'll even help you." But the other man coldly rejects, "I'm not interested in your help." A silent frustration washes over him. The white-haired man's hand clenches, a red star marking visible on his wrist, as he decides, "Let's crush him." A tense standoff unfolds as Jehu Seol and his companions face the white-haired man and his subordinates. Observing the volatile situation, Hyun Sang-min expresses his unease, admitting he doesn't like where things are headed. Before anyone can react, the white-haired man moves with blinding speed, grabbing one of his blonde-haired subordinates by the head and delivering a brutal kick to his midsection. The blonde man collapses instantly as the white-haired man stands over him, coldly stating that his subordinate's weakness is unacceptable. His gaze sharpens as he continues, warning that the less Jehu Seol knows, the better off he'll be. With a menacing glow, a red star marking illuminates on his wrist, a clear display of his power and authority. The blonde man lies battered and bruised, his face swollen and bleeding from the swift assault. Jehu Seol and his group watch in stunned silence, as the white-haired man declares his intent to crush anyone who stands in his way. Despite the brutal display, Jehu Seol steps forward, his voice firm as he asks the white-haired man to reconsider his actions, offering to help him. He is violently struck by an unseen force, recoiling with a pained gasp, while the white-haired man stands triumphantly over a defeated figure. Desperately, he reaches out, his fingers splayed as if trying to grasp at something solid, his face contorted in agony. Meanwhile, Lee Seola finds herself suddenly trapped behind glowing red energy bars, her expression etched with fear. Despite his own struggle, Jehu Seol urgently commands her, his voice firm, to get inside. Lee Seola, startled but compliant, confirms her understanding. But the unseen attack is too swift. She collapses, defeated, her clothes torn and a shoe discarded nearby. The white-haired man, having finished with his previous victim, now turns his full fury on Jehu Seol, grabbing him by the collar and then delivering a brutal kick, sending him flying. A nearby blonde-haired man watches the unfolding violence with a shocked expression, uttering a single word in disbelief. Battered but unyielding, Jehu Seol looks back over his shoulder, his eyes burning with fierce determination as he speaks. Lee Seola, the only daughter, steps forward with a determined expression, offering to handle the situation herself. But she is quickly dismissed, told to stay put while Sang-ah is ordered to retrieve something, a command he questions with a confused "Why me?" Sang-ah sits on the ground with Hyun Sang-min, who remarks on the consequences of their actions, implying they've gotten into trouble for eating kids up. Meanwhile, the white-haired man continues his brutal assault on Jehu Seol, grabbing him by the collar and demanding to know who has been speaking ill of him, before striking him with a hand crackling with red energy. His face contorted in a snarl, the white-haired man barks in order to hurry before the master comes, as Sang-ah and Lee Seola watch in stunned silence. Sang-ah and his associate react with wide-eyed shock, the sudden escalation of events leaving them reeling. Despite the brutal beating, Jehu Seol remains defiant, his gaze sharp as he begins a chilling countdown. "You've got 10 seconds. 10, 9 dash. Suddenly, an unseen force slams into Sang-ah, sending him recoiling violently before he collapses to the ground, dazed, as the countdown continues. 3, 2 dash. The final second ticks down, and Sang-ah, defeated, slowly walks away, the sound of a lock clicking echoing in the silence. As the white-haired man watches, Jehu slams his hand down on a red button, a defiant challenge echoing in the air. A low rustle of fabric accompanies his movement. As he turns his back, his shoulders tensing. His face contorts in a grimace, the words of his opponent still ringing in his ears, a deep-seated fury beginning to boil within him. From a distance, Hyun Sang-min and the Dreadlocks man watch, their expressions shifting to shock and concern as they sense the immense pressure emanating from him. Jehu clenches his fists, his back still to the observers, a silent declaration forming in his mind. The anger inside him is a force he can no longer contain. His eyes snap open, glowing with an intense red light, as a vibrant, crimson aura erupts around him. The fury isn't settling down. A crowd of people gathers, looking up at a figure on a stage. Jehu checks his phone, a message informing him that the waiting room is full, having reached its maximum capacity of 200 people. With a determined expression, he walks forward. Standing before a large screen, he reads the urgent message. Area 1. The second abyssal gate has appeared. Later, in a movie theater, he sits beside the old guy, who remarks, "It's the second abyssal gate, huh? That's crazy." The screen displays information about the first gate's casualties, with only 3 people leveling up, and the pressing need to hold out until tomorrow, as the old guy continues to speak. A woman in the audience glares intently at the screen, her expression unreadable. The old man, still processing the grim news, voices his concern, wondering aloud how other regions are faring, while the purple-haired woman beside him remains silent. He reiterates his question, his face etched with worry over the unknown fate of distant places. He then speculates that other areas are likely facing the same devastation, attempting to conceal the truth, but questions the point of such secrecy when it cannot last forever. He believes the cover-up is an attempt to prevent widespread panic, yet acknowledges the impossibility of indefinitely suppressing such a grave reality, while the woman listens intently. His thoughts then shift to a specific location, Area 7, as he asks about its current status. He reveals a complete lack of information regarding Area 7, suggesting the gate there might have manifested in a particularly critical location, a fact noted by the woman. Clarifying that Area 7 is his home, he expresses a somewhat resigned confidence that it's not a major concern for the authorities, despite the potential danger. A grim realization then dawns on him, as he acknowledges the sheer difficulty of surviving until the next day under these escalating circumstances. Breaking her silence, the purple-haired woman offers a surprising reassurance, stating that if he is there, they will endure, prompting a hopeful, questioning glance from the old man. The purple-haired woman asserts that he is someone who would never abandon his life without a fight, her gaze fixed forward as she considers the implications. Meanwhile, Jehu unleashes a powerful, unseen kick, the force of his strike echoing with a resounding boom. Back in the meeting, a bald man with a scar voices his concern, wondering if he truly possesses the ability to protect them, while the purple-haired woman acknowledges that relying solely on a hunter's power might be a gamble. She then turns to him, posing a direct question. Can they truly place their trust in this individual? Before he can fully respond, she sharply silences him, leaving the bald man taken aback by her sudden outburst. Later, the purple-haired woman watches Jehu walk away, a thoughtful expression on her face. The scene shifts to a magnificent, ornate structure, its grandeur eliciting a quiet exclamation. Standing before it, Jehu is joined by a blonde-haired man who admits he has no idea what is going through his companion's mind. Shifting focus, a bald man with a prominent scar on his head complains about a mysterious figure, questioning if he's merely a random individual without a slave contract, specifically referring to the one who took the gold. The curly-haired man, Sang-ah, interjects, stating that the woman apparently knew where this person came from. The bald man scoffs, convinced that this individual is the type who would betray his own family for money, and doubts he would give up his gold so easily. Sang-ah warns that the bald-headed man himself is not an easy person to deal with, suggesting that if a powerful hunter like the gold taker is involved, he might be aligned with the association. He continues, emphasizing the rarity of adventurers in the current era, and cautioning that their team would have been wiped out long ago if they continued to act recklessly. The bald man, clearly annoyed, demands to know why Sang-ah is defending the person who took the gold. Sang-ah, maintaining his composure, simply advises that they should back off. The curly-haired man remains resolute, his expression firm. A sharp, metallic sound echoes. Jehu standing in a doorway, senses a disturbance, noting that another hunter has activated the traps, a sharp metallic tongue echoing through the space. Nearby, the bald man with the scar reacts sharply, his eyes wide with alarm at the sudden sound. The source of the noise is revealed to be a complex, metallic trap mechanism, its sharp blades poised to strike. Without hesitation, Jehu moves with purpose, his arm already raised, preparing to strike the dangerous device. He brings a long staff down with immense force, impacting the metallic trap and sending sparks and debris flying. Following through with the powerful blow, he holds his staff ready, having neutralized the immediate threat. The bald man flinches once more, startled by the loud clang that echoes through the space, a testament to the force of the impact. Jehu stands calmly amidst the aftermath, his staff held casually, having dealt with the activated trap with practiced ease. His feet are firmly planted on the ground, the sound of his landing resonating with a soft calm. He twists, a blur of motion as multiple spears streak towards him from all directions, their tips meeting with a sharp, unseen impact, forcing him to contort his body mid-air, evading the deadly projectiles by mere inches. Each spear whistles past, a testament to his incredible agility, until one finally embeds itself deep into the ground. From a distant observation point, a woman with vibrant purple hair watches, her voice laced with disbelief. "Did you see that?" The bald man beside her, his scarred face thoughtful, responds calmly. "No, he dodged." He elaborates, his gaze fixed on the monitor. "I'm sure of it." After dodging the spears coming from all sides, it doesn't look like he was about to do the same to the spears from the ceiling, but the purple-haired woman's eyes widen in surprise at his assessment. The bald man, still observing the young hunter's movements, muses that he isn't sure if the boy is simply lucky or if he truly possesses an extraordinary ability. The purple-haired woman, watching Jehu-seol on the monitor, suggests that perhaps he's just a natural, a born talent who simply hasn't realized his full potential yet. The bald man reacts with a surprised exclamation, wondering how such a powerful ability could have gone unnoticed until now. Seated beside the purple-haired woman, he elaborates, explaining that it's as if the young man is already an earthling, a term implying a native inhabitant of their world, rather than an outsider. His expression is intense as he reiterates, it's as if he's already an earthling, a concept that seems to deeply puzzle him. The purple-haired woman then shifts the conversation, inquiring about the fastest record for the second mission. As she stands, looking down at the screen, a narration box reveals the current benchmark, Sungjin's legendary record. A curly-haired man, now joining the discussion, confirms the record, stating that Sungjin completed it in 3 minutes and 16 seconds. The purple-haired woman, her eyes still on the screen, then asks, "What is the young man's current time?" The large screen before them flashes, announcing that Area 1's second mission has been successfully cleared. As the words "mission completion time" appear, the bald observer's eyes widen in surprise, while the purple-haired woman remains intently focused on the display. A memory surfaces, a younger Jehu-seol walking with an innate mana-sensing ability, making someone wonder if his talent was far more than just a keen eye. Now, the adult Jehu-seol stands, his eyes glowing with an intense blue light, a profound realization dawning on him that this is far beyond anything he could have imagined, a true jackpot. A voice echoes with a tone of genuine surprise, exclaiming, while a police officer stands at attention, offering a formal congratulations to someone for making it to the top of the first and second classes. Unaware of the accolades, Jehu-seol remains sound asleep at his desk in a bustling classroom. His friends, Hyun Sang-min and the white-haired man, sitting nearby at a table, their expressions unreadable. He continues to slumber peacefully. As the officer from before reveals, there's even more good news. Lee Seola's eyes widen in shock, her mouth agape as she processes the unexpected revelation. The uniformed man continues his address to the students, assuring them there's no need to worry, explaining that this mission is easy and might even be fun. A yellow-haired student, alongside a brown-haired classmate, echoes the sentiment with a hint of skepticism. Easy and fun. The officer continues, his voice carrying through the classroom, because, every time. His words are punctuated by the murmurs of the students, a low hum of conversation filling the air. Turning to the blackboard, he elaborates on the task. All you need to do is go through the 4th floor, up to the 6th floor. He pauses, then adds, though, there are some rules. With a piece of chalk, he begins to write on the green board, his hand moving with practiced ease. The classroom is filled with attentive students as the officer poses a question. Ever heard of chamber hunting? The uniformed officer continues his explanation, assuring the students he will proceed slowly, detailing how coins are spread across the 4th and 5th floors. These are the very coins they must collect as many of as possible by tonight. A single, tarnished coin lies on the ground, a small but crucial piece of the puzzle. These collected coins, he explains, will then be used for a roulette. A female student with dark hair questions the term, wondering aloud, "Roulette? What is roulette?" While a male student beside her looks equally perplexed, the mention of the 4th floor hanging in the air. The officer gestures, clarifying that the entrance to the 4th floor opens there. 2 male students, one with reddish-brown hair and another with dark hair, exclaim in unison, a hopeful paradise, escaping their lips. However, the officer holds up a single coin, reminding them that nobody gets a free lunch, and the toll fee is 100 coins. 3 students, a female with dark hair and 2 males, one blonde and one with dark hair, react with dismay, questioning if they truly have to pay to enter and collect 100 coins before even beginning. As the officer continued to explain the mission's mechanics, a low, guttural sound of unease rippled through the group, his hand resting firmly on a student's shoulder. He then elaborated on the rewards, mentioning the roulette machine located on the 5th floor of the library, a place where their collected coins could be exchanged. From this machine, they would be able to acquire all sorts of helpful items. Lee Seola, her expression a mix of curiosity and apprehension, voiced the collective thought, wondering what exactly they could expect from such a system. The officer clarified, listing everything from basic sustenance like food and drinks to more valuable assets such as protective gear, potions, and even magic balls, if they were fortunate enough. Jehu Seol, his gaze distant, pondered the ultimate possibilities, asking if it was even possible to bring someone back from the dead. The officer acknowledged the theoretical possibility but quickly tempered their expectations, emphasizing that such a feat would be far from easy and not to underestimate the challenge. As Jehu Seol glanced towards a fire extinguisher, perhaps contemplating an escape, the officer's voice cut through the air, a sharp command to halt. He explained that any attempt to leave would be futile, as they would be immediately returned to the starting point within 10 seconds. Meanwhile, a bead of sweat trickles down the face of Hyun Sang-min, who leans against a wall, his expression tight with apprehension. Back in the briefing room, the uniformed officer continues his address, explaining that a message from the guide has been received and that any attempt to leave the designated area will result in an immediate return to the starting point within 10 seconds. He emphasizes the futility of resistance. As Jehu Seol and Lee Seol-ah listen intently, their expressions a mix of concern and resignation. Jehu Seol's gaze drifts, lost in thought, as the implications of the officer's words sink in. The officer's voice takes on a more serious tone, warning them that if they fail to cooperate, they will face dire consequences, emphasizing that their survival hinges on following instructions. Both Jehu Seol and Hyun Sang-min react with visible shock, the weight of the officer's words settling heavily upon them. Across the room, a diverse group of students, including the suit-clad man, the white-haired man, the old guy, Sang-ah, the purple-haired woman, the bald man with a scar, and the curly-haired man, all share similar expressions of unease and apprehension, their faces reflecting the grim reality of their situation. As the rules are laid bare, Lee Seol-ah questions the absurdity of their predicament, her voice echoing the disbelief that opening the gate is their only path to survival. She ponders aloud, wondering if they couldn't simply open the gate for a brief 30 minutes and make their escape. The uniformed officer, his expression stern, counters her suggestion with a chilling question. What if something truly dangerous awaits them on the other side? Rubbing his temples in exasperation, he laments the gravity of their situation, finding no humor or enjoyment in the dire circumstances. As the group considers their options, Jehu Seol steps forward, a thoughtful expression on his face. He voices a grim possibility, suggesting they could easily become mere fodder if they rush and unprepared. Instead, he proposes a strategic delay, advocating for patience until they can somehow acquire weapons to bring through the gate. His suggestion hangs in the air, met with visible confusion from the officer and suit man, who exchange questioning glances. Despite their uncertainty, Jehu Seol's resolve remains unwavering, his gaze fixed and determined. A group of young adventurers, including Hyun Sang-min in his signature cap and Lee Seol-ah with her glasses, gather in what appears to be a school hallway, perhaps discussing the rules of a dungeon. They know that Live Room 3-1 serves as a base, a dead limits zone where monsters cannot enter, and that mana points are required to open doors to higher floors, with the 4th floor's door deactivating the 2nd floor's bars. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a woman's furious cry, demanding to know where they have gone, as the students around her look on in confusion and concern. Meanwhile, in a different setting, a man in a crisp suit, looking troubled, confirms to a uniformed officer that this must be what happened, the officer listening intently. Back in the school, Hyun Sang-min, still wearing his cap, casually suggests to another student that they grab a bite, noting they have some time before their next slot. Jehu Seol walks alongside Lee Seol-ah, a quiet thought forming in his mind about what he should do next. Meanwhile, Lee Seol-ah ponders the most pressing question on everyone's mind, wondering if there's anything to eat. Her question is answered by the sight of a table laden with various food items, a surprising bounty of snacks and drinks. Hyun Sang-min and the curly-haired man look on, while Lee Seol-ah and another student gaze at the provisions, their expressions a mix of relief and disbelief. Jehu Seol approaches the table, his eyes wide as he asks, "Where did you get all this?" Hyun Sang-min begins to explain, revealing that while everyone was waiting for the beck, a person named Hebe had mentioned the supplies. He gestures, clarifying that it was a simple matter of going to the main building, and after some rearranging, they found a few things, which is how it all went down. A collective gasp of surprise escapes the group, their faces lighting up at the sight of the unexpected provisions. Lee Seol-ah, still looking surprised, concedes that it's certainly better than starving while fighting. Jehu Seol looks down at a collection of scattered items, including food, drinks, and tools. He picks up a small, green, rectangular object, his eyes widening in surprise. Lee Seol-ah, seeing his reaction, exclaims that he is a genius, while he, still holding the green item, reveals that he possesses one as well. A relieved smile spreads across her face as she thanks him, a similar expression of gratitude on his own. Elsewhere, Hyun Sang-min stares intently at Lee Seol-ah, his expression hardening as he mutters to himself. He then turns, his face contorted in anger, demanding to know what is happening, as Lee Seol-ah and the curly-haired man look on. Jehu Seol, alone again, clutches his head, a wave of confusion washing over him as he questions if this ability has always been within him. He looks towards Lee Seol-ah, who in turn is looking at the curly-haired man. The curly-haired man then reveals a startling piece of information, stating that someone claimed they could revive the dead. Jehu Seol stands quietly as Lee Seol-ah begins to speak, her words trailing off into an ellipsis. She continues, explaining that she had come with her boyfriend, but he had left her, prompting Joo-seol to quietly agree. Me too. A distressed cry escapes her as she clutches his arm, while he simply looks away, lost in thought. Suddenly, Hyun Sang-min's furious voice cuts through the air. Cut the bullshit. I'm not going to let you go. The curly-haired man, observing the scene, interjects with a cynical tone. So what? Just when you're hungry and fed you food, now you want to save your friends. Hyun Sang-min attempts to retort. What I'm saying is dash. But the curly-haired man cuts him off, continuing his lecture. If you have friends you want to save, do it yourselves. He said you can collect coins and get the item. Lee Seola and Joo-seol stand silently, looking down, subdued by the harsh words. The curly-haired man points accusingly, his voice rising. Do you even know where this place is going? Do you even know what it's like to be one of the guys to be saying that? He continues, his voice cutting through the tense silence, demanding to know if they truly believe they could save their friends. His gaze sweeps over the group, as he explains that the only way to obtain the necessary item is to collect coins. He then questions their understanding of cooperation, asking if they truly grasp its meaning in this new, brutal reality. His words hang heavy in the air, causing visible discomfort and unease among the assembled survivors. The curly-haired man watches their reactions, his expression unyielding as he continues to press his point. Suddenly, Hyun Sang-min can no longer contain his frustration, his face contorted in anger as he shouts for the man to stop. But the curly-haired man merely turns his head, silencing the outburst with a sharp, dismissive gesture and a cold glare. He then delivers a cutting retort, telling Hyun Sang-min to at least check the clock first, implying his interruption is ill-timed and foolish. Joo-seol and Lee Seola exchange a look of shock and dismay, their faces reflecting the heavy atmosphere and the curly-haired man's undeniable authority. A palpable tension hangs in the air, leaving the group in stunned silence, their faces reflecting the shock of the curly-haired man's harsh words. As a digital display flickers to life, a stark message appears, announcing the impending Avenger hunt, with a countdown ticking ominously towards midnight, the seconds draining away. Hyun Sang-min, his frustration boiling over, vehemently protests the idea of harming others, declaring that killing people like them is simply wrong. Lee Seola, standing beside Joo-seol, firmly states their intention to go their own way, refusing to join the others. As Lee Seola watches him, Joo-seol turns away from the group, reaching for the door handle to exit. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman looks to Hyun Sang-min, who nods silently, acknowledging her unspoken question about their next move. Joo-seol walks down the empty hallway, leaving the others behind. He reflects on the situation, thinking he wouldn't have given up on the avenue so easily, and while everything else seems manageable, the task of collecting coins weighs heavily on his mind, though he assures himself there should be no problem. His hand instinctively reaches for his phone, its screen displaying a game interface. Joo-seol stares at his phone, its screen glowing with an unexpected display, his eyes widening in disbelief. A flicker of uncertainty crosses Joo-seol's face as he considers the impossible, a single word escaping his thoughts. He finds himself in classroom 3-1 on the 4th floor, a space that once held a teacher's podium and numerous student desks, now a scene of disarray. A soft, unsettling sound echoes through the room, drawing his gaze upward in renewed surprise. Turning to a woman beside him, Joo-seol asks, "Did you see that too?" The classroom itself bears witness to a violent impact, with desks and chairs violently overturned. As the door creaks open, Joo-seol and Lee Seola peer into the chaotic room, observing the aftermath of whatever transpired. Joo-seol watches Lee Seola, a thought forming in his mind about someone with the power to control the weather, considering what a valuable asset such an individual would be. As he considers this, the scene shifts to a close-up of a hand holding a pen over a notebook, then pulls back to reveal the continued disarray of the classroom, emphasizing the strange circumstances. Lee Seola looks down, her eyes glowing with an ethereal blue light, while Joo-seol gazes up at her, a silent question in his expression. He confirms his suspicion, realizing it wasn't just him who possessed an ability, but a sense of unease lingers as he observes her. A soft wriggling sound accompanies Lee Seola's wide-eyed surprise, a faint groan escaping her as if struggling with something unseen. Now standing, she holds a pen, her gaze fixed on Joo-seol, who stands opposite her, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. A sudden flush spreads across her cheeks, her mind seemingly zoned out, while he looks utterly startled by her unexpected reaction. Lee Seola then settles onto a desk, a gentle smile gracing her lips, and Joo-seol observes her, a quiet thought passing through him. So she can smile. With a soft rustle and a quick movement, Joo-seol extends his hand towards her. Coins clink together, falling into a neat stack. He counted them, confirming, "All right, that makes it 12. Nearby, Lee Seola blinked, her expression a mix of surprise and confusion. Joo-seol offered her a hesitant smile, extending his hand as he wished her, good luck." She turned and walked away, leaving him in the classroom. A moment later, she peered through a window into another room, a faint rummaging sound emanating from within. Back in the classroom, Joo-seol held up his hand with a confident smile, declaring, "Easy as pie." He then turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing softly. Suddenly, he found himself face to face with Lee Seola in the hallway, both of them startled by the unexpected encounter. A soft gasp escapes her lips as Lee Seola discovers an open locker. The metal door hangs ajar, revealing its empty interior. Just then, a familiar voice cuts through the quiet hallway, calling out her name in surprise. Her eyes widen slightly, a silent blink of disbelief. He looks at her, a question forming on his lips, wondering what she could possibly be doing here. Avoiding his gaze, she turns away, her discomfort palpable. Clutching a piece of paper, her expression shifts to one of deep worry. The document reveals a repeating phrase, a clue to her current predicament. Sensing her distress, Jehu Seol decides to withdraw, muttering his intention to leave as he walks away. Jehu Seol stares intently at a screen, a thought forming in his mind about a coin he saw on the teacher's podium and another on the TV cabinet. A moment later, he's sprinting down a hallway, phone in hand, with Lee Seola struggling to keep pace just behind him. But the chase is too much, and she stumbles, collapsing to the ground with a pained gasp. Jehu Seol glances back at her, still on the floor, before continuing his urgent dash. She remains seated on the classroom floor, watching him go. Meanwhile, Jehu Seol reaches the teacher's podium, where he finds not one, but 3 coins waiting for him. Back in the classroom, one of Lee Seola's shoes lies abandoned on the floor, a silent testament to her hurried fall. Jehu Seol walks away from the classroom, casting a final glance over his shoulder. Left alone, Lee Seola struggles to her feet and reaches for a cabinet, her own search continuing despite her earlier setback. She looks at Jehu Seol, who is already in the classroom, and asks about the chair, before he turns to face her, a slight smile playing on his lips. Undeterred, she continues her own search, reaching high above her head. Her eyes widen in surprise as she finds something unexpected. Meanwhile, Jehu Seol stands near a teacher's desk, holding a small, dark object in his hand, having also found what he was looking for. A brilliant pink glow erupts from Lee Seola's chest, illuminating her as she exclaims, "Found it." Jehu Seol points to the desk, indicating his own discovery, a small, dark coin, and offers a knowing smile. Lee Seola's face flushes with deep embarrassment, her cheeks burning a vivid pink. Jehu Seol looks at her with a puzzled expression, a question mark hanging in the air as the pink glow still surrounds her. He then asks, his voice laced with concern, "Did I hurt you or something?" As the system updates, counting down the time until midnight, Hyun Sangmin's current score is displayed as 0. Elsewhere, a warm light illuminates Sain Sang-ah, who lies motionless on the ground, her own coin count also at 0. In a dark corridor, Seol Jihu checks his device, a faint blue glow highlighting his face as his impressive total of 1,532 coins is revealed. The system then shifts focus to Yoon Seola, whose score, like many others, remains at 0. Still bathed in the soft, warm light, Sain Sang-ah remains motionless on the floor. In a quiet classroom, a desk at the front begins to glow with an ethereal blue light, its energy radiating outwards to fill the space. Later, in a more private setting, Lee Seola confesses to the man across from her that she has acquired a new ability. As she gazes at a small, glowing blue fragment on the table, he presses her for details, asking about the remnants of the Broken Peak book. The suit man explains that her new power emerged only after the Peak book was opened, implying a direct connection. Lee Seola looks down, her expression a mix of uncertainty and resolve, admitting she has no clear understanding of her situation, but feels she must simply trust in it. As she eats, the suit man observes her with a gentle smile, remarking on how much she has matured. He then offers her more food, his gesture warm and inviting. Still processing the revelation of her own power, she presses the white-haired man, asking just how many abilities he possesses. He turns to face her, his expression unreadable. A gasp escapes her as the full weight of his words settles in, realizing she isn't the only one experiencing these strange new phenomena. Surprised by her reaction, he inquires about Yoon Seoare. Later, seated at a table with the suit man, he reveals that Yoon Seoare also possesses mana, a fact that elicits a quiet "oh" from the suit man. A faint blue aura shimmers around him as he considers the implications, understanding that if his senses are correct, then she herself is now in grave danger. She looks at him, demanding to know what he means. His gaze intense, he warns her directly. Stunned by his words, she finally recognizes him, uttering his name. A tense expression settles on Jehu Seol's face, as he stares intently at a small, humming device in his hand. His gaze shifts upward, then back down to his phone, a growing unease reflected in his eyes. Suddenly, a chilling message echoes through the world. The hour of the dead has now begun, plunging the once familiar office into an eerie darkness. Amidst the chaos, a drawer filled with various supplies lies open. As Jehu Seol frantically searches through the darkened room with a flashlight, his breath catching in his throat, he reaches deep into a shelf, muttering, "Just come out already." His fingers brush against something, and with a sharp intake of breath, he grasps a mysterious object that glows with an ethereal light. He stretches his fingers, trembling slightly, reaching for a small, dark object just out of grasp. A soft clink echoes in the darkness as he murmurs to himself, still struggling to retrieve it. He stands, surveying the chaotic room, the silence broken only by the faint sounds of objects shifting, his glasses askew from the frantic search. Dropping back to the floor, he reaches under the bed, the rolling sound of something moving further away. His phone's flashlight cuts through the gloom, illuminating the dust and debris as he continues to search, his gaze darting around. His eyes widen, a sudden realization dawning on him as he mutters, the light catching his determined expression. Finally, his fingers close around a small, glowing disc, a triumphant exclamation escaping his lips. But the triumph is short-lived as a sudden, sharp pain racks his body, blood gushing from his nose and mouth, his eyes wide with shock. He stumbles back, staring in disbelief as the glowing object he just found begins to float eerily in the air before him. Jihu Seol stares intently at the small, glowing object he has found, a sense of discovery washing over him. But his expression quickly shifts to one of profound shock, his eyes widening in disbelief at what unfolds before him. A golden light begins to coalesce, forming the ethereal outline of a figure, and a voice, laced with a chilling familiarity, whispers a name. The glowing form solidifies further, its presence growing more distinct and menacing. Then, the horrifying truth reveals itself. A decaying face with hollow, glowing white eyes stares back, a grotesque parody of life. Jihu Seol cries out, stumbling backward in sheer terror, the name Seol Jin escaping his lips as he falls. The apparition, a decaying figure with a faint blue aura, floats eerily in the air, its tattered clothes and skeletal frame a chilling sight. From the ground, Jihu Seol stares up, his voice trembling with desperate disbelief, pleading with the figure, Nuna? Nuna, is that really you? His eyes wide with terror and confusion, he repeats the question, unable to comprehend the horrific sight before him. The decaying apparition of Seol Jin floats closer, her form shimmering with a faint blue aura. As she speaks to Jihu Seol, her voice echoing with a chilling promise. Her face contorts into a silent scream, a grotesque mask of decay and agony. Jihu Seol, drenched in cold sweat, can only stammer out a desperate plea, his mind reeling from the impossible sight. As Seol Jin's eyes glow with an intense, malevolent red, she utters a name, her voice a ragged whisper that tears at his soul. Tears of blood stream from her glowing orbs, as she professes an undying, twisted affection. Overwhelmed by terror, he turns and flees, his footsteps echoing frantically as he glances back at the horror he leaves behind. He navigates a dimly lit hallway, the beam of his phone cutting through the oppressive darkness. Clutching his head in anguish, he vows to eradicate all obstacles and bring her back, no matter the cost. His gaze falls upon an unsearched room, a new area to explore in his desperate quest. He walks through the dimly lit corridor, a quiet determination settling over him, knowing he has always possessed a unique ability. His footsteps echo softly, a brief pause in the oppressive silence. A concerned voice cuts through the air, questioning his solo endeavor and offering unwavering support to save her. Another companion, her expression etched with worry, asks if he truly intends to face this challenge for her sake. He assures them he will return, but only after he has found Yoon Seola and dealt with the ogres. From his seat, a third ally, calm and collected, states his readiness to follow the leader's path. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupts, causing both him and his female companion to recoil in wide-eyed terror. The sudden shock is punctuated by a framed photograph, a poignant image of a woman and a child, a silent reminder of what is at stake. A shiver runs through Jihu Seol, his body trembling uncontrollably. Still trembling, he stands before a closed door, a palpable sense of dread emanating from its dark surface. Footsteps echo down the hall, approaching with a steady rhythm. Soon, a small group gathers around the doorway, their faces etched with concern as they peer into the darkness beyond. Hyun Sang-min's eyes widen in disbelief, a horrified question escaping his lips. Jihu Seol cries out in anguish, his gaze snapping from the unseen horror to Lee Seola, repeating his desperate plea. A chilling creak echoes from the opening, as both Lee Seola and the man in the suit recoil in shock. The group stares, transfixed, as a strange, ethereal glow begins to emanate from the depths of the doorway. His hand, clad in a dark glove, carefully manipulates a small, glowing device. As he kneels beside the fallen woman, a desperate plea escaping him. If we leave her, she will die. Nearby, the man in the suit considers the situation, stating that after coming so close, they need to take her to the research office for testing, while Hyun Sang-min insists they must find something. The white-haired man, however, voices his skepticism, wondering what they expect to find if there's truly nothing left. The suit man suggests a possibility, believing there might be something in the science lab. He trails off, a butt hanging in the air. The white-haired man presses him, asking for clarification. The suit man explains his dilemma, while Hyun Sang-min points out the lab is too far, and the suit man adds that the dead they brought are only found here. The suit man then recalls a warning about the hour of the dead, but Hyun Sang-min dismisses it, noting that the fallen woman seems fine, to which the suit man speculates it's probably because she isn't dead yet. He listens intently as Jihu Seol explains his discovery, revealing that Seol Jin herself had instructed him to search for her, but the suit man still feels the situation is overwhelming. Nearby, Lee Seola attends to the unconscious woman, her voice filled with worry as she notes that simple alcohol won't be enough, and they need to prepare for the possibility of shock. She questions how they could possibly prepare without proper supplies, a sentiment echoed by Jehu Seol, who laments the lack of a nearby pharmacy. Yet Lee Seola insists they must do something. Turning back to the suit man, Jehu Seol declares that a solution does exist. His gaze sharpens with resolve as he names his desperate gamble, the roulette. A soft hum emanates from a smartphone, its screen glowing with an ethereal blue light. Reflected in the screen, the white-haired man's eye glows with a matching blue as he curses under his breath at the unexpected notification. The system message flashes across the display, announcing that the locks on the 6th floor door have been deactivated, the gate will spawn in 30 minutes, and the bars on the 2nd floor have also been deactivated. With a newfound sense of purpose, the white-haired man turns and strides away, declaring that he has an idea. Within the quiet confines of the library, preparations are underway. Hands move with practiced efficiency, arranging medical supplies, a soft thud echoing as items are placed, then wiped clean. Jehu Seol carefully sprays a bottle, confirming to Hyun Sang-min that it's a disinfectant. Nearby, a backpack lies open, revealing more essential items, a faint clatter accompanying the movement of gear. Taking a few items, Jehu Seol states he'll take these for now, while Hyun Sang-min urges him to take even more. With a serious expression, Hyun Sang-min warns that he'll return as soon as the meds are delivered, but if he's not back in 30 minutes, Jehu Seol should assume something dire has happened. The weight of the situation settles on Jehu Seol, his gaze falling, then rising with a troubled intensity. He questions his own resolve, wondering if he's truly doing the right thing, unsure if he can even see it through. Elsewhere, Lee Seola contemplates the same daunting challenge, her thoughts echoing the difficulty of even beginning such a perilous endeavor. He continues his search, rummaging through the cabinet with a soft sigh. Medical supplies are neatly arranged, and his eyes narrow with a focused intensity. A sudden realization hits him. Far more time has elapsed than he had accounted for. As he descends the steps, a growing unease settles in. Seeing a small crowd gathered below, their voices a low, worried hum. He demands an explanation, his voice cutting through the tension. Hyun Sang-min sits, head bowed, a picture of utter despair, flanked by two silent figures. A sharp, almost predatory smirk plays on the white-haired man's lips. He clarifies the situation to Jehu Seol, identifying the invisible wall as an access denial shell. The group, including Hyun Sang-min, Lee Seola, the suit man, and Sain Sang-ah, are now visibly contained within a shimmering, translucent barrier, their faces reflecting a profound sense of helplessness. He slams his fist against the shimmering blue barrier, a powerful impact echoing through the space. But the white-haired man simply watches, his blue eyes glowing faintly as he explains, I activated it with my own mana, which means you can't break it without my permission. Jehu Seol turns to him, his voice sharp with accusation. You're the one that trapped them on the 6th floor? The man simply confirms, correct. His gaze hardens as he demands, why? The white-haired man's grin widens, a hint of malice in his tone as he retorts, what do you think, Mr. Goldmarker? Jehu Seol looks down, his thoughts racing as he considers the implications. He should have had a reason to trap Hyun Sang-min, Lee Seola, Saint Sang-ah, and I don't know how many of them. A fierce determination ignites in his eyes, his hand beginning to glow with a soft blue light. As he recalls his past self, a hunter, a father, a husband, who was supposed to be capable of everything, but ultimately wasn't. The white-haired man's voice cuts through his thoughts, his unsettling smile unwavering. But I was certain you'd come out. When did you ever just stand and watch, right? Jehu Seol stands firm, his expression a mask of unwavering resolve. Meanwhile, the white-haired man, a smirk playing on his lips, casually dismisses the concerns of those around him, a single word of contempt escaping his mouth. Elsewhere, a woman in a red dress lets out a piercing scream, fleeing from unseen horrors that lurk in the shadows. A group of terrified individuals gazes upward, their faces reflecting the monstrous, glowing eyes that stare down at them from the darkness. Back with the confrontation, the white-haired man addresses Jehu Seol directly, reminding him that he is the architect of the access denial shell, and that he holds another secret. He holds up a glowing blue cube, a symbol of his control, as desperate voices from beyond the barrier plead, imploring him to grant them entry. Jehu Seol, refusing to engage in such tactics, demands to know the true nature of the object in his opponent's hand. The white-haired man simply smiles, a knowing look in his eyes, acknowledging that his methods might seem unjust. Meanwhile, the three distressed individuals receive a chilling offer, permission to enter, but only for a select few. As the white-haired man's words hang in the air, a fierce resolve ignites within Jehu Seol, his eyes flaring with a brilliant blue light. Without a moment's hesitation, he launches himself forward, delivering a swift, powerful kick that sends the white-haired man reeling. The white-haired man stumbles, looking down in surprise, while Lee Seola watches the sudden turn of events. The entire group stands in the dimly lit corridor, observing the tense standoff that has just erupted. Jehu Seol glances down, a quiet determination settling over him, knowing that he is prepared for whatever comes next. His hand instinctively moves to his pocket, ready to pull out what he needs to finish things off. A hand reaches out, its fingers splayed, as if in a desperate plea or a forceful grab, met by another hand, equally tense. The suit man grips Hyun Sang-min by the collar, his voice sharp with accusation. So what are you doing here? Hyun Sang-min, looking distressed, responds. Are you going to deny it? Just like that pretty boy in Nuna. Jehu Seol, standing nearby, clenches his fists, a look of deep concern etched on his face as he thinks, your Nuna is going to cry. She's going to kill me if I don't do something to save her. Hyun Sang-min, now alone with his thoughts, reflects, Hyun Sang-min, I thought you were a realist. The suit man continues, his voice firm. No one here is going to believe you. You're going to end up like the pretty boy in Nuna, after all. Jehu Seol, standing with Sain Sang-ah and Hyun Sang-min, finally speaks, a quiet apology escaping his lips, sorry. He peers into the dimly lit room, his gaze sharp and assessing, while Jehu Seol stands silently behind him, observing the scene unfold. Inside, Lee Seol-ah kneels on the floor, her body slumped in defeat, as the white-haired man looms over her, an imposing figure in the oppressive silence. She tries to feign ignorance, claiming she's just a normal person, but he dismisses her words with a cool, knowing glance, stating he was merely looking. He then reveals his true knowledge, acknowledging her attempt to steal Yoon Seol-ah's ability, even commending her for the effort. However, his tone shifts, a warning in his voice, as he reminds her that she shouldn't have persisted in her actions. He offers her a change of clothes, a stark contrast to her current state, leaving her to question his intentions with a bewildered, quiet, what? With Jehu Seol still watching from the periphery, the white-haired man's words turn chilling, making it clear that her life is now forfeit. A hand reaches down, a silent gesture of finality, and Lee Seol-ah, now standing, meets his gaze, her expression unreadable. Still on her knees, Lee Seol-ah gasps, her body racked with sobs as the white-haired man stands over her. A faint, ethereal glow emanates from her outstretched hand, a soft rustling sound accompanying the gesture. Without warning, the white-haired man pulls her into a tight embrace, his arm firm around her waist as she clings to him. Ah, he exclaims, holding her close, stay still. You can't know what else could happen already. Her eyes widen in terror, a silent scream caught in her throat. Or, you'd prefer to go back, he murmurs, his reflection visible in the depths of her horrified gaze. Later, they walk away from the building, her hand now clasped in his, her attire subtly changed. He glances back over his shoulder, a question hanging in the air. Who was a fool to be trusted? From a distance, Jehu Seol watches them go, his thoughts heavy. And now he's gone, he muses. It's a very complicated situation, my friend. No one's going to know the truth, are they? The white-haired man continued to pull Lee Seol-ah along, her expression still etched with distress. He spoke with a chilling calm, asking her to observe her own vulnerability, then taunted her, wondering what would happen now that she was no longer protected. From a distance, Jehu Seol watched, a silent question forming in his mind. Was it truly his duty to help the weak, or was that just a foolish sentiment? He pondered if all strong people were inherently evil, and all weak people kind. As the white-haired man and Lee Seol-ah, now in different attire, walked away, he continued his unsettling monologue, asking if others looked like fools, and asserting that victory came from winning, not from protecting the vulnerable. He claimed that losing was a consequence of being the weakest, and that life itself was an act, a fool to be trusted. A smirk played on his lips as he concluded that she was indeed a smart one. As they continued their departure, he suggested they become a pair that no one would dare challenge, leaving Jehu Seol to ponder his words. Suddenly, the white-haired man appeared before Jehu Seol, extending his hand with an offering. Jehu Seol reacted with a surprised gasp, as the white-haired man then looked at his own hand, reminding him that he still awaited an apology for the pain from when he had been struck. Jehu Seol's expression hardened, his gaze unwavering. The white-haired man extends a hand, his voice calm as he states he doesn't ask for much, only an apology for them to be friends. But Jehu Seol, his face contorted in rage, can only manage to snarl a curse before he's cut off. A sudden, unseen force slams into him, sending him reeling backward with a violent impact. He collapses to the ground, the white-haired man looking down with an air of cold superiority. Then, with a heavy thud, a foot presses down, pinning Jehu Seol to the pavement. Blue energy crackles around the white-haired man, his power radiating as he holds his opponent captive. The vibrant aura intensifies, glowing particles swirling around him as he asserts his absolute dominance. Suddenly, a new figure emerges, a smirk playing on his lips, Hyun Sang-min swinging a bat with fierce determination. Before the white-haired man can react, the bat connects with a sharp crack. The white-haired man reels from the unexpected blow, a sharp gasp escaping him as he clutches his head. Stumbling backward and losing his footing, his body collapsing to the ground. Disoriented, he looks back in disbelief, a question mark hanging in the air around him. The full force of the bat connects with his face, a guttural ugh, escaping him as the impact distorts his features. Having delivered the decisive blow, Hyun Sang-min finishes his swing, the white-haired man now falling in the background. His face contorted with fury, Hyun Sangmin shouts. Who are you to touch my sister like that? Meanwhile, the white-haired man lies sprawled on the ground, groaning in pain, his hand still pressed to his injured head. But his pain quickly turns to rage, as blue energy begins to crackle around his hand, shards of ice forming as he snarls. UF*CKs. I'll kill all of you. Despite the chaos, Jehu Seol remains pinned to the ground, his feet still encased in the white-haired man's radiating blue energy. Still reeling from the impact, he lies sprawled on the ground, a pained gasp escaping his lips. His hand clenches into a furious fist, as the words echo in his mind. Never. In my life. Hyun Sangmin stands over him, his foot dangerously close, his voice dripping with contempt. Have I met a perverted fucker? Nearby, Lee Seola lets out a terrified scream, her face contorted in horror at the unfolding scene. The white-haired man's eyes widen, filled with a raw, desperate fury, his features strained with pain and burgeoning power. Later, he stands alone in a desolate hallway, his gaze fixed on the ground, a silent contemplation of his next move. Meanwhile, in a different location, the suit man, Sain Sanga, and a long-haired man gather, the long-haired man questioning how something could have happened. The suit man explains that it was a disguising spell, and he had sent them a signal before coming, which is why they both caught on. He then turns to the long-haired man, his expression serious, asking him to consider one thing. As the suit man observed the unfolding situation, a thought crossed his mind. He wanted to witness the outcome for himself, just this once. The man with glasses, his expression serious, echoed the sentiment. He too desired to see the full picture unfold. Standing alongside Sain Sanga and the suit man, the man with glasses watched intently, their gazes fixed on something unseen. A sudden realization struck the man with glasses, his eyes widening in disbelief, wondering how anyone could be cornered in such a manner, while Sain Sanga gasped in surprise. Turning his back, the man with glasses began to walk away, a quiet sound of movement accompanying his departure. The suit man, a smirk playing on his lips, addressed the departing figure, asking if they had passed his test. As the three continued to observe, a series of wet, impactful sounds echoed, indicating a violent event unfolding. The suit man's hand, adorned with a ring, gestured towards a stark prison cell, a metallic flink sound accompanying the visual. Looking back with a troubled expression, the man with glasses questioned, wondering what exactly was happening. From above, a colossal, dark form begins to descend, its massive silhouette casting an ominous shadow over the reflective surface below. Its glowing red eyes pierce the gloom, a gaping maw filled with razor-sharp teeth and a long, writhing tongue confirming the terrifying realization. It is the monster. An unnamed man in a green cap frantically urges others forward, running with Jehu Seol close behind him. The urgency of their escape still palpable. Jehu Seol and Lee Seola walk away from a building. A heavy door slams shut, echoing through the tense silence. Inside, as a loud impact reverberates from outside, Jehu Seol, Lee Seola, and Sain Sanga, along with others, stare out a large window. Jehu Seol carries an injured Lee Seola over his shoulder, her body limp against his. Her eyes wide with terror, Lee Seola lets out a small gasp of fear. She speaks to Sain Sanga, questioning if the shield can truly hold, as a grotesque, clawed hand reaches into view, threatening to breach their fragile sanctuary. The white-haired man, previously part of the group, now hangs suspended upside down, his face contorted in distress. As a sickening crunch echoes through the air, three women look on, their faces etched with shock and concern. A door stands slightly ajar, a silent testament to the breach. The white-haired man lies bruised and battered on the ground, reaching out a desperate hand, pleading for salvation, while Lee Seola watches from the background, her expression filled with worry. Jehu Seol, the man in the suit, Hyun Sangmin, and another white-haired man stand together, their gazes fixed on the unfolding chaos. Still on the floor, the white-haired man's plea for help is met by a shadowy hand reaching out to him. Sain Sanga steps forward, her jaw set, her voice sharp and defiant as she curses the unseen aggressor. A monstrous hand clamps down on the white-haired man's face, silencing his cries with a guttural growl. Sain Sanga maintains her furious stance, while the white-haired man, his face still gripped, struggles to hurl a final, venomous insult at her. A horrified gasp escapes Lee Seola, her eyes wide with disbelief. As the white-haired man is brutally thrown across the rooftop, his body slamming against the concrete, while the unseen assailant continues its relentless attack. The others watch, frozen in a mixture of shock and terror, as the scene unfolds before them. Sain Sanga, refusing to yield, desperately tries to pull the attacker away, but the white-haired man is mercilessly stomped into the ground, a pained cry escaping his lips. His eyes, wide with agony, reflect the sheer terror of the moment. A guttural scream tearing from his throat as blood splatters from his mouth. His hand reaches out, grasping for something, anything, while he lets out a desperate plea. No way. This is too much. His vision blurs with blood and tears, the world dissolving into a crimson haze. Then, with a final, sickening thud, his silhouette plunges into a swirling abyss of red, vanishing completely. A sharp blade cuts through the air, as a shadowy, tendrilled entity reaches out. its voice echoing with a chilling demand to be let go, while a cold voice from nearby advises, if you're going to die, die alone. In a different time, or perhaps another reality, the man known as Weisberg, now with dark hair and glasses, wields a staff-like weapon that glows with an intense blue light, ready for battle. Back in the present, Jehu Seol, Hyun Sang-min, and Lee Seola watch the unfolding chaos, with Jehu Seol declaring his intent to help, despite the overwhelming odds. His face etched with determination, the young man considers his options, while nearby, the suit-clad man looks down, his expression unreadable. Jehu Seol's mind races, contemplating the dire implications of the current situation, wondering if this combination of threats is truly insurmountable. The shadowy entity now looms directly over Sain Sang-ah, and the child she desperately tries to protect, their terrified pleas echoing in the chaos. A heavy foot descends with crushing force. But a hand shoots out, desperately reaching to grab the imperiled woman's hand, a final, urgent call to hold on. As the monstrous threat loomed, he reached out a desperate hand, his companions Hyun Sang-min and Lee Sola reacting with alarm beside him. With a powerful stomp, Jehu Seol unleashed a shockwave, the ground tearing apart beneath his foot. Yet, the shadowy entity was relentless, its clawed arm lashing out to seize Hyun Sang-min, his face contorted in pain. Its monstrous head, with eyes glowing a malevolent red, emerged from the darkness, revealing sharp, deadly claws. The entity's full, terrifying form then descended upon Sain Sang-ah and the child, its shadowy mass threatening to engulf them both. But Jehu Seol, his expression hardened with resolve, let out a fierce cry. Now, as the monstrous entity shrieked in response. A sudden impact sent the shadowy creature recoiling, debris scattering around it. The force of the blow revealed a critical weakness, 3 glowing red orbs embedded deep within its shadowy form, pulsing with eerie energy. Its full, monstrous body was now visible, the glowing orbs marking its vulnerable points. With a guttural shriek, the shadowy entity recoils violently as Jehu Seol's powerful kick connects, sending a shockwave through its form. As the monster stumbles, he prepares his next move, a glowing orb of energy manifesting in his hand, ready to be unleashed. The entity, its red eyes burning, regains its footing, its dark, muscular form tensing for a counterattack. With a thunderous roar, it expands, transforming into a colossal, multi-limbed reptilian beast, crackling with raw power. Undaunted by the transformation, Jehu Seol holds his glowing orb aloft, declaring his intent to deliver the final blow. The orb launches from his hand, a brilliant projectile streaking through the air, closing the distance to the monstrous entity in an instant. Upon impact, a blinding explosion of crackling energy erupts, engulfing the beast in a maelstrom of destructive light. The monstrous form begins to tear and burn, its reptilian features contorted in a silent, agonizing scream as the destructive force consumes it. Its roar echoes through the space, a prolonged cry of immense pain as the explosion continues to ravage its very being. The immense explosion continues to rage, a fiery maelstrom consuming everything in its path. Slowly, the inferno begins to subside, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Watching from a distance, Lee Seola stares in disbelief, her eyes wide as Hyun Sang-min remarks on the incredible power, muttering, insane. He really got it. She turns to him, acknowledging, you're really amazing with just a few people, really. As he adds, the combination just happened to be in my favor. Meanwhile, the ground below is littered with shattered remnants, a chilling testament to the battle's ferocity, yet a faint crackling sound persists. Still processing the events, Lee Seola recalls the guide's words, thinking, the guide was right. He said that we could easily beat it if we all worked together. Elsewhere, Jehu Seol stands amidst the aftermath, receiving a reassuring pat on the back from the white-haired man. The white-haired man offers a calm assessment, stating, it's fine. The result of all this is already a huge gain in and of itself. He then suggests they depart. We should get going. To which Jehu Seol responds with a thoughtful, I see. So, in a stark shift to the past, a young man stands in a school hallway, listening as a girl's voice cuts through the air, declaring her desire to never see him again, a sentiment he already anticipates, believing she's merely seeking an excuse to end their relationship. His thoughts are interrupted, however, as his gaze drifts, catching something unsettling just out of view, a silent question forming on his lips. Leaving the conversation behind, he walks down a dimly lit corridor, the silence growing heavy around him. A faint, unsettling crackle echoes as he approaches a wall, where strange, glowing symbols begin to manifest. He turns, his face contorting in a silent gasp of terror, a horrifying realization dawning upon him. His eye, wide with shock, reflects an unspeakable horror. Amidst glowing blue particles, he finds Hee-jin, battered and bleeding on the ground, his desperate cry of her name echoing in the oppressive darkness. His voice trembles as he questions the horrific scene before him, seeing a shadowy figure looming in the background, pleading for mercy as he calls out to his honey, Hee-jin, one last time. Jehu Seol slumps over his desk, the sounds of his stomach rumbling echoing in the quiet room, his mind a weary loop of hunger, exhaustion, and the desperate need for sleep. Slowly, He begins to stir, stretching his arms above his head as he glances at the clock, the morning light filtering in. Now fully awake, he finds himself holding a small, glowing green object, as the white-haired man asks if he's finally conscious. The man's gaze falls upon the hexagonal container, inquiring about his plans for all the coins he's collected. Jehuseol, looking at his companion with concern, warns him that no one will care for him if he's gone, and that he'll end up a beggar in the slums, adding that there are only a few days left until the hour of the dead begins. The white-haired man dismisses his worries, stating that people wouldn't fear the dead now that they're out of the phantom, and reiterates his question about what Jehuseol intends to do with all the coins he's collected. Jehuseol looks away, a thoughtful expression on his face, muttering a hesitant me? Well. He walks down a brightly lit hallway, a long staff resting on his shoulder. He reflects on his past, on the ability he's always possessed, and how he no longer needs the coins he once sought, not even the ones on the 6th floor. His stride remains steady as he continues through the building. Suddenly, he glances back at the suited man, who is now on the ground, offering a quick apology. The suited man, looking up, explains that he just needs enough for his passage. Jehuseol pauses before a door, then catches his own reflection, considering the master key he's acquired. His hand reaches out, taking a single coin from the suited man's outstretched palm, eliciting a surprised gasp. Let's go, he instructs, already ascending the stairs, leaving the suited man to question their destination. He continues his ascent, a determined glint in his eye, declaring their next objective, to find that treasure. Stepping through the entrance of a building marked Libra, he finds himself within a new, unfamiliar space. A man following close behind him offers a cautious assurance, stating he will do his best, but cannot guarantee anything. As he reaches for a door handle, the man continues, explaining he has about 800 coins left, and his individual approval is listed under special, which should allow him to spin the machine twice. Jehuseol glances back at the man, who looks down, a quiet sound escaping him. Further inside, a grim sight awaits them. A young girl lies slumped on the floor beside a vending machine, seemingly unconscious or gravely injured. Both men stare at her, the man asking with concern if she is feeling all right. Her face, marked with freckles, is contorted in pain or distress. The man kneels beside her, trying to assess her condition, while Jehuseol observes, wondering if she is completely immobile. A closer look reveals her hands are tightly bound, confirming her helpless state. The injured girl remains hunched on the floor, her body language conveying deep despair. Jehuseol's expression is one of concern, his gaze fixed on the girl. As he stands over her with his companion, the white-haired man reminds him that they have other pressing matters to attend to. Jehuseol's attention shifts to a nearby machine, his hand reaching out to interact with it. Both men observe the device, Jehuseol now holding a peculiar quill. He inserts a card into the machine's slot, a soft click echoing in the silence. With a decisive clunk, he pulls a lever. A narration box identifies the item in his hand as the quill pin of flowing consciousness, leaving him to ponder its purpose. He holds the quill, determined to try again, as his companion watches. He watches the numbers tick by, 299, then 300, a subtle shift in his gaze. A soft click echoes as he closes his phone, the device snapping shut with a definitive sound. Standing beside a man with glasses, Jehuseol looks intently at something before them, his expression serious. He glances at his companion, who adjusts his glasses with a slight nod, acknowledging the situation. Their attention turns to a box filled with colorful, spherical objects, the man with glasses suggesting they investigate them further. These are spell balls, globular objects that emit a bright light when crushed, causing confusion, and also frozen spell balls, which freeze a target for 3 seconds, coming in various colors with a 1-minute cooldown. Jehuseol holds one of the black spheres, a look of regret on his face, muttering an apology. His companion reassures him that his sister will understand, acknowledging that life doesn't always go as planned, but adding that they don't have to endure this hardship. As Jehuseol looks down, a woman with brown hair appears in his thoughts or memory, asking if he is looking for something specific. A glowing, amber liquid swirls within a glass bottle, its label proclaiming it to be a potion of revival. Both Jehuseol and Hyun Sangmin stare at it, their expressions a mixture of shock and disbelief. As Jehuseol recalls the recent past, stating, "Someone told me we'd be killed yesterday." His gaze then falls to Lee Seola's bandaged arm, a stark reminder of their peril, prompting him to ask, "But your arm, Seoare?" Lee Seola offers a faint, almost melancholic smile, dismissing the potion's value. It's a useless item for a person who's alive. Hyun Sangmin's face reflects a deep concern, his eyes wide with worry, as he bows low in profound gratitude, repeating, "Thank you very much." Jehuseol watches the exchange, his own concern unwavering. As Lee Seola turns and walks away, a subtle flinch betraying her composure. A quiet thought echoes in Jehuseol's mind, a silent agreement with the unspoken burdens of others. In a memory from the past, a man in a suit remarks, "I guess she is a new person." He continues, explaining the intricacies of a challenge's requirements. The first and the third requirements are related to the first part. Jehuseol races through a hallway, his footsteps echoing with urgency, heading towards the science laboratory. He stares at a monitor, a grim realization dawning on him. I don't think they can be cleared by one person. A sudden, piercing scream rips through the air, and Seol, his face etched with horror, turns to the man in the suit, asking, You don't think it was Nuna? They stand over the lifeless body of a young woman, the man in the suit lamenting, But only my Nuna. If I had an ability, I wouldn't have let her die. She was my sister. But now I think you're the one who might be special. He then speculates further. Then maybe it was his family? The flashback concludes with a young Seol, his expression resolute, declaring with a heavy sigh, I'm never getting married. The man in the suit turns to the young Jinho, questioning him about his sister, Nuna, as the boy looks around the laboratory, confused by her sudden absence. Urging him to look elsewhere, the man emphasizes their limited time, before cryptically mentioning a condition and the position of the deceased body part that must be embraced. He points to a clock, its hands nearing noon, explaining that the hour of the dead will soon be over. The gravity of the situation dawns on Jinho, his eyes widening in horror as the man warns him that his sister will disappear forever.